This thing shows something glowing. Looks kind of like a door. Residual energy from the portal. Temporal displacement definitely took place.
Oh, yeah. I thought I felt a shift in the planet's alignment there.
So who came through?
Not who. What? It's Nimrod!
You mean that itty-bitty soup can? Give me 5 seconds.
A new sentinel? From my time, from the future! Mission, help! Storm's claustrophobic! Nimrod can sense it!
Back off, jerk!
Gene!
What can we do? It's impervious to our weapons!
He has not yet felt the force of the elements! Hail! Fill the skies with rocks of ice!
Increase the cold! Maybe we can crack the superstructure!
From the ends of the earth, send limitless cold upon him!
I'm going to have a panic attack and I'm going to leave.
So here's a comprehensive list of what Sweet Baby Inc. can potentially work on if it's hired. Writing, cinematics, dialogue, UI, UX writing, barks, copywriting, etc. Narrative, story pitches, world building, character creation, narrative design, story feedback and tweaks, and more. Representation, cultural consultation, sensitivity and inclusivity reading, risk and opportunities assessment, and more. Development, full-scale game development and interactive fiction. That's a pretty broad range of shit that they could do. So Sweet Baby employees maintain that overall their job is to provide assistance to companies that already want to improve already existing diverse elements. So let's fucking read that sentence again. Provide assistance to companies that already want to improve already existing diverse elements. Because it seems like Tony honestly kind of has maybe a bit of a reading challenge going on. So I just want him to really take that in. As per the company CEO, who, she's apparently the devil, but the perspective is never that we're coming in and injecting diversity. For the most part, it's the reverse. What? They're taking out diversity? No. It's that the company has created a character, a diverse character, and they want to make that character more representative of real life people and experiences and more interesting. Let's fucking take a step back and look at the whole timeline here. Some dude who has not played any of these games just had some, based on his fucking vibes, decided that these games are woke, and he started, they're done, this game's done by Sweet Baby, this to be, and then he makes a list, right? And so because of this dude who had not even enough interest in the games to actually fucking play them, right? So he clearly has some incentive to do this that is not the quality of the games themselves, right? I mean, it's just obvious. And what was his incentive? Let's say it's going to be because he's anti-woke, right? So if somebody can just decide something is woke and that he's going to fucking put them on blast and make a list, and then, and any response that comes from them is not enough. You have to go further and further. You're going to, we're going to fucking dig up all your old tweets. We're going to look into all your employees. We're going to fucking, put every single thing you've ever said under a fucking microscope until you fucking show us exactly what you fucking did in each one of these games. That's not a little fucked up to you?
We've seen with these Zack Snyder stuff how it's really easily to fake a bunch of people online being mad about something, bots and stuff.
Well, I mean,
So
there
to
were
say
really
that 16 people can't make some sort of noise on Twitter or something to make it seem like everybody's upset at you.
So I mentioned the Chunky Monkey thing earlier, actually. So I mentioned that earlier, and here's the thing about that. I'm sure you know about that, right, Tony? Chunky Monkey incident.
Yeah, I know all about it.
All right. So do you know what consequences I suffered from that? People who already didn't like me called me a racist for saying that, whereas people on the left, people who actually understand, what racism is and isn't, and listened to the context of what was said and understood that I was referencing Iron Man fucking 3, and that there is no established trope of calling black people a chunky monkey or anything, and that it was just an unfortunate, me fucking using the word monkey when really I should have been more mindful and didn't even think about it in terms of race. I was talking about his fucking weight. Okay. And nonetheless, nothing happened because I'm just well established as not being a fucking racist. You can look at any of my content and see that I'm actually anti-racist. So like the people that there's not really, people get called racist.
Do you think anyone actually thought you were racist for saying that?
If they didn't, then so are you saying that all the people that were saying that I was racist, they're just disingenuously trying to get me to cancel me? Is that what they were doing?
That would mean they were bad faith, by the way.
Yeah,
that's what.
Yeah. 100%. They were.
Okay.
So you said it right, and so what it became was now Dane said a thing that we can pin on him and go, look, see, you're an idiot.
Well, I mean, X-FAP used that as the reason why they don't want to talk to me, because basically, like, they dismissed me with that shit. So like, that's says something about them, I guess. Nonetheless, it's people get called racists. It's not the worst thing in the fucking world. It's like, if a video game company, the multi-billion-dollar in some case video game companies can't handle being called racist online, then I don't know, man. They need to get out of public life and shit. Stop making video games. The key isn't winning or losing, it's making the attempt. I may never be what I ought to be, want to be, but how will I know unless I try? Sure, it's scary, but what's the alternative? Stagnation. A safer, more terrible form of death, not of the body, but of the spirit. An animal knows what it is, and it accepts it. A man may know what he is, but he questions. He dreams, he strives, changes, grows.
Somebody, please, they got the children.
The only way that you can really stop this kind of thing is to arouse public opinion. It's very upsetting. It has a bad moral effect.
Forced adversity.
Skin color prejudice? That's so pathetic, it's almost quaint.
It ain't quaint.
Ask yourself, what's more terrifying, fear or the frightened?
The facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire.
Bad, B-A-D-D, bothered about Dungeons and Dragons.
Up yours, woke moralists.
Socialism has spread the shadow of human regimentation over most of the nations of the earth.
And they're pushing identity politics with this. They 100% are.
How do you think homosexuals reveal themselves?
And the shadow is encroaching upon our own liberty.
I think there ought to be a law against them. Tonight I'm going to show you why.
What up, what up, what up? Hello, and welcome. This is that show. This is Sunday. This is when it is, and you shouldn't be surprised by now to see me or Morgan on Sundays.
Wait, shit. Is it Sunday?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm totally
look,
surprised. Shit.
I'm sorry. I just kind of like, tapped you into the stream here and didn't tell you, and was like, you know what? They'll either be here or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I just teleported right from where I was in here to this box on the internet.
Teleporting is cool. It's
cool.
It is really cool. It is really.
Just imagine the amount of time you would save, the amount of money you would save. You could just teleport, right? Just like bam.
Into a bank vault, you mean? Like you would save a lot of money that way. You would actually make a lot of money that way.
And I was just thinking about like not having the car bill, the gas,
Oh yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Like,
oh, you're thinking like an honest person. Got you. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, on air, right? Like, come
right,
on,
yeah.
mate.
Sorry. Well, I mean, we are going to be having an ethics discussion here in a moment, so maybe it doesn't matter.
Maybe.
We'll see. Yeah, so we're going to talk about X-Men 97. It's the X-FAP. X-FAP number 1.
Woo!
Figure, you know, why not just number it like a comic book?
There we go.
This is the premiere issue / video. It is not going to be worth anything in the future. Sorry.
No, yeah, we're not selling variant covers.
I mean, look, we are actually selling variant covers because on the FAP channel, Fapcast channel, it has one thumbnail, and on my channel, it has another.
Oh shit, we have variant covers. Oh,
we
I
have
didn't even
variants.
notice that. Fuck, that's awesome.
Yeah, I do what I can. Unfortunately, we cannot make it do the gatefold thing. You know, I wish, but maybe someday the technology will exist. But as of now, Google has not prioritized such things.
No, they're too busy trying to build data centers in Texas.
And harvest all of our data so they can sell it.
And water, apparently.
Oh, I don't even know about that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Well, we're going to be talking about X-Men 97, you know, for a good bit of the show.
Yeah.
Just because we are going to start next week, I believe. We're going to start a series. Fucked bisexual game. Oh my god! I haven't thought. I understand now. Like as soon as I read that, I'm like, at first I was like, wait, what? Oh god, that yeah.
So spoilers for a show that I think came out, you know, what, 27 years ago? I mean, it's X-Men 97, so I'm sure it's been out for a while, and we're just sort of catching up, right? Poor guy. Like, poor.
Spoilers also
guy.
for comic books, which the you know, it's a little bit out of order sometimes, but like the events in the show mirror the comics pretty damn well. It's more truncated version of those stories, but there's you know, like there is precedent for you know, Magneto and Rogue having some feelings,
right? I mean, that was a big part of the Age of Apocalypse timeline.
I mean, there's been a couple of moments in regular continuity as well. It was just that with that, it was like, okay, now actually they just went with it in that,
right?
Because my girlfriend thought, she was like, oh, it wasn't just an Age of Apocalypse, and I was like, no, it's there was hints of it in, you know, previously, but like, and the reason being is that, you know, I don't know what Magneto's reason being, but I mean, you know, like his power can actually negate her power, so that's how they were able to have a little baby in Age of Apocalypse.
Because he can use his magnetism to dick with her magnetic field or her energy field, so she can't use her powers on him.
Yeah, yada yada, sci-fi explanation.
Right. Yeah.
Technobabble. You know, there's a lot in common between, and these are the two properties that define me, like help mold me into a person as a kid more than anything. X-Men and Star Trek. There's a lot of crossover there, more than you would think. You know, like a lot of technobabble. You know, the writer's just saying, here's a sci-fi concept, and if we write this and say this about it, then it can do this thing.
Right?
But yeah, X-Men 97 is fucking awesome. I honestly don't know when last time I got this hyped over an animated thing was, other than, I mean, like, you know, maybe while watching Spider-Verse or something, it's a pretty good experience. But like,
yeah, Spider-Verse is probably the closest. And I think like for me, because I never am. It's just not how I operate. I was never like all in before the show came out. I'm like, this looks really good. I hope it's really good. And it was really fucking good.
Yeah, I started having vibes like for the last couple of weeks before it came out. Like I saw some trailers or whatever, and I'm like, I had this feeling like if this is as good as like the feeling I'm starting to get from this, then holy shit, you know, like they definitely yeah. Well, I mean, look, there is rumors. There's possible. It seems likely that they're going to be folded in some other characters. Like
I imagine, because they're doing. We already know there's a season already in the works, and they were talking about a third before the showrunner was canned. So, and the reviews have been really good, so that always helps.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow, Alessandro Giuliani voiced
Wow.
Gambit in the '90s cartoon.
I did not know that.
Really? Oh no, that's an
And
X-Men Evolution.
it's an
That would be
Evolution, yeah.
Isn't that the guy? That's what's his name from Battlestar Galactica, right? I think. Pretty
Oh
sure.
gods,
The traitor. He was
traitor.
he was loyal to the very
Yeah,
last season.
Beltar.
No, no, not Baltar. Fucking goddamn Gata, Lieutenant Gata.
Oh, fucking Gata. Oh
Yeah.
my gods.
I think that's Alessandro Giuliani.
I forgot Gata's a traitor because it happens like the last season. And
yeah, it's I have mixed feelings about it, but it's like on the one hand I kind of get it, but you know this isn't a Battlestar Galactica podcast. Maybe we
No.
can do that down the line, but you
We
know
probably should, but yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we'll be talking about that, but first we're going to be talking about some X-Men comics and then just like the concepts within more broadly, and then we'll kind of bridge it with comparing it to the animated series,
right?
So there have been some folks, these guys that kind of seem to exist almost exclusively on YouTube to talk about X-Men comics, despite the fact that they hate X-Men comics. And it's not like they didn't like this Krakoan era, so now they're going to give they're excited about the next iteration, and they're going to wait and see and hope that it's the best thing ever. No, they've already decided that is also terrible.
Right. It is we have seen like a couple of panels with no dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen some promo images, and we know who the three writers are on the main books, and it is already.
Well, according to them, so what they said about X-Men number 700 that's coming out is that, like, and I'm talking about thinking critical here. He said that it's one legend and a bunch of hacks are writing number 700. So we can kind of glean how he probably feels about who's writing the next iteration. Because he doesn't actually like X-Men.
Well, you know what? I guess takes one to know one. If he thinks they're hacks, maybe it's because he's a hack.
It's true. So they're like there's been some content being put out, and I've seen it several times now, which is why I wanted to address it, about what's currently going on in the Fall of House of X series. It's kind of been going on. If you're not reading that, it is
very good.
Very good. And then just like the last two issues in particular have seen the mutants begin to turn things around against Orcus.
Mm-hmm.
With the most recent one being like, so they've basically just won. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, they win.
They win against Orcus, but that problem is, damn little problem there is that Orcus wasn't really the thing they should have been worried about. I mean, obviously they had to worry about it, but there was something else.
But yeah, Orcus, there was a man playing them against each other. Well, I mean, someone thought they were a man and paid for that with their life. So,
mm-hmm. I mean, the thing is, Nimrod thinks he's a man too. I think, like, he kind of like
does he?
Oh, I mean, well, okay, so I guess maybe it's later evolution of him, because like whenever Hickman was writing him, and you would see him in like Powers of 10, he was like a real goofball. You know what I mean? Future Nimrod was just kind of a weirdo.
Yeah,
he's like, he thinks he's a dude. Like, that's what he evolves into. Anyway, but nonetheless, so yeah, the AI, they've been kind of silent lately since Orcus started winning. You started seeing a lot more of the Stasis, Dr. Stasis, and the people and stuff within Orcus. And it's conveniently the AI element of Orcus was just kind of like standing back going, good job. Yeah. Being silent.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
And as Cyclops rightly fucking deduced, that it's because they're just waiting for the mutants to be out of the way so that they can take care of the humans.
Right. They're going to kill the winners.
So in other words, in this fantasy fucking world, just like this completely made up, couldn't possibly happen, you have this element, this kind of like technocratic element above everyone else that has more power than anybody else. And they're going to cause two types of people who really shouldn't be at odds for any fucking logical reason, really. They're going to inflame intentions and pit them at each other so that while they're fighting, they can just make off with the bag. Wait, that does happen. It does happen. In real life.
Hold on. Yeah, I've heard this one before.
Anyway, so yeah, and the thing is that in the last couple of issues, you've seen some deaths, and not really any mutants that I can think of. Really, not so far.
Recently, not so far. No,
it's been some Orcus guys. Some Orcus guys have died. Some of them worse than others. We looked at a while back whenever Kate Pride was in a position, an unfortunate position, but one she was perfectly capable of getting out of. Where she was right after the gala was bombarded by Nimrod and Stasis, and they sent all the mutants away from Earth and all that stuff. That she was the only one who could travel through the gates. Apparently, suddenly, where like it flipped, whereas like the whole throughout Krakoa she couldn't go through the gates. Now suddenly she's the only one who can, and she realized in that moment, because she went through a gate accidentally, went to, I think it was Jerusalem. She ended up in.
Yeah, it was the Jerusalem gate.
And then she's surrounded by Orcus guys, and it's like, okay, if I don't kill every one of these guys, that's kind of like the end of the mutant race. You can safely deduce. Because they would probably take her and figure out how to use the gates and all this stuff. Who knows what they would do?
It would be bad.
So, and I remember seeing people then.
Yeah,
probably, I think the same guy saying, "Oh, she's just a murderer now, cold-blooded killer," and it's like, well, no,
that's not cold blood. Like this is a war, right? Like Orcus has declared war. They threw a fucking invincible robot at their fucking party and held the Earth hostage if the mutants wouldn't do what they said. And they started rounding them up in camps. Like, it's a war.
Yep. And that's the thing, that these people that are making this content, and I think they're doing it on purpose. I think they're
for sure. Yeah,
intentionally ignoring the context of what's actually happened here. And they're saying, like, as of Fall of the House of X #3, that they're saying again, or still, that the mutants are just cold-blooded killers now. They're not even heroes. They're just gleefully murdering people left and right. And that's not what.
So I guess my thought, talking about this whole Fall of the House of X era, does that make Captain America a cold-blooded killer?
Yeah,
because he's helping them. Does that make? I mean, Tony Stark is doing it right now in Iron Man, helping them fight Orcus. Is he a cold-blooded killer for killing Orcus goons? Like,
well, if you remember our FAP on Christopher Rufo, which we also FAP'd Orcus.
Yep.
They're the background of Orcus is that they are an organization that was kind of like put together in the background over decades ago, like was when it really began. And it was meant to be activated at the moment that basically it became clear that mutants were going to become eventually the dominant, species. And so that happened with Krakoa, and then suddenly Orcus is activated, and it's like every element, every resource, every person, every thought, gesture, action in Orcus is dedicated to the eradication of mutants. And they've now enacted their kind of a final, I guess you might call it a solution.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's one way to put it.
So and they're in the midst of that, and if not for a couple of plucky mutants and kind of like having a few contingency plans in place, then they'd have won already. There'd be no more mutants. Hey, callback.
Indeed.
Scarlet Witch didn't need to use as much effort, but still.
No.
So here we are, and now the mutants have finally begun to turn things around a bit. And in the most recent issue of House of let's look at #2 first, because a little bit of it happens there. There's some stuff happening that I think they really took issue with. So here you see Polaris with the severed head of a Celestial. Is that Nowhere? I think
that's Nowhere. Yeah.
And she's
call it out.
They're in a ship that is, or I guess not a ship, but sort of a space station, but it's also kind of got guns, and it's basically where they're going to sit and eat their popcorn as mutants are destroyed.
Right.
And she says, now how about instead y'all deal with these brood that I brought with me? And I mean, okay, you could say that that's pretty brutal, but okay, I don't think that's not uncalled for. You're talking about the mutants really just wanted to exist in peace in their own nation. Of course, they had contingency plans because they're not stupid.
Right. Well, and it's once again, right? Like who declared war?
Right. Who? I mean, I can imagine there'd be some people that would say that they did by Xavier and going into everybody's minds on Earth and saying, we're doing our own thing now, deal with it. That's him. He's invaded our privacy. invaded our brains. You know, I think that argument has been made in the comics, actually.
Sure, and you know that's fair, but who did that, right? That's not like a reason to wipe out a whole people to fucking do a genocide. It's like, wow, Xavier's kind of a dick. Well,
if they had pressed charges against Xavier, I'm sure he would have gone to court.
Right? Yeah, if they'd been like, all right, we think that's a problem, maybe you should answer for that, and then I think Xavier would be like, okay, sure.
That's interesting, Maestro. Wouldn't that mean that maybe because the people in the comics that are saying that they're fascists? They're like
right.
But that would make I don't know. And look, she does seem to be enjoying this. I'll say that. But it's okay. Look, I'll say this: I've never killed anybody that I'll admit to on stream. But I have been in fights before when I was much younger, and I did not enjoy it. I did not want them to happen when they happened. But in the midst of them, I did performatively get a little cocky at points because it's just it's a fucking human thing to do.
It's a human reaction to a dangerous situation when your adrenaline is all going.
Because you're not just fighting physically. That's the main thing that you're doing, but there's also a psychological element to virtually any fight.
Well, and also, to talk about the medium, I mean, how many comic book characters, how many comic books in general, I mean, they're a dialogue-based medium. It's, it would be one thing to have her silently send, my brood, and then they go fucking eat everybody, and she just sort of silently watches, but, like, that's not how comic books work, right? You have a medium you are using, and adhering to the tropes of it. It would be weird if she didn't have something to say, and yeah.
I would think that if I walked into the room and saw Polaris unleashing a bunch of brood on some fascists, first of all, I'd be like, I gotta go. Second of all, I would be like, if she was example A, or I guess scenario A, she's just floating there silently, dispassionately watching as the brood destroy these guys. That's kind of disturbing. But then you got to think of the context of these being people that have been hunted and whatnot, and like,
right,
let them get their one-liners for fuck's sake. It's
right.
I don't see how that makes the situation any worse.
So yeah, to flip it to non-mutant Marvel characters, if you had a scene where, for whatever reason, let's imagine that Bucky is going to attack a Hydra base, right? The Winter Soldiers found some Hydra base and they'll knock it the fuck over. And to do that, he brings the Brood, just for whatever reason, right? Like, we're just making shit up here. Just switching our protagonist and our villains. Who really cares?
Yeah.
Who is there like you pick a different superhero. And sure, like, Bucky is certainly more on that anti-hero spectrum. But I think broadly he's a hero we see as one who fights wars, and no one cries for Hydra.
Well, and also
Orcus is also Hydra.
Orcus, yeah. I mean, you know what? I will say, I started reading my Hickman Omnibus, and it does specifically say at the beginning, like, one of and this is not in any way to defend Orcus or anything, but like,
no,
that one of the guys does say, that there's something like six people from Orcus, and they're genetic scientists, or whatever. That are, I mean, from Hydra. I mean,
from Hydra.
And he's like, he seems pretty disgusted that they are included, right? Like, so I mean, even within Orcus, I guess there may be some people that aren't fans of Hydra, but that might just be the same way that, like, Richard Spencer isn't a fan of guys that wear swastikas on their,
Well, even if that guy, even if whoever hired them on didn't like Hydra because they're fucking Nazis, right? It's the Nazi bar thing. Well, you let a fucking Nazi in your bar. Now your bar's full of Nazis.
McLeod, I mean, that's not really relevant to this. I don't know. I haven't looked at that. It's the first we've heard of that, but I will say that if that is the case and that's happened, then I assume it's for story reasons that make sense, and then I'm fine with it if that's the case. So
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I like it's a movie that isn't out yet.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about it, so
In fact, I would say that
no
I
strong
do.
feelings.
Knowing nothing about it, I would say that I would kind of lean in favor of it because it's Captain America's movie. It's Falcon's, or not Falcon, Sam Wilson's movie.
Sam's
you know,
movie,
he was Falcon, now he's becoming Captain America. That's what I want to focus on, because we know he's going to be getting some shit.
Right.
All right. So then the thing that comes to mind whenever you're talking about X-Men killing people is like, where have you been at the entirety of Wolverine's existence?
Yeah. Let me introduce a guy called Wolverine.
That also raises questions. See, this is kind of a rabbit hole, and we have to be sure to cut it off at a certain point so we can get into the X-Men show, the fun times. I mean, this is fun times too, but just very different things happening in the comics and from this show.
Yeah,
but
they're very different places. So, like, I guess when you're talking about like discussing the ethics of killing, and Wolverine brings to me probably one of my favorite comics runs ever, which is Remender's Uncanny X-Force.
Yes.
And the Apocalypse arc in that with Kid Apocalypse, and it's just well, this is just a child, right? Like everyone else they kill, and they fucking kill everyone.
Yeah.
Like is a genuine monster. And then here's the child who's a clone of Apocalypse.
Okay. Hold on. I have to put a stop to this. Punisher. Why are y'all bringing up the fucking Punisher?
Not a hero. Yeah.
I mean, what is he? He doesn't have anything to do with this. Like, yeah. Sorry. Go watch my videos on that.
Yeah, they're great videos. But yeah, the Punisher is
he's a whole different
not
thing.
A superhero.
We're in no way, shape, or form do I think that anyone should condone what the Punisher does, unless he happens to be doing it in the midst of saving someone's literal life in that moment from being killed by the people he's killing.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, Bob, I get that, man. Like, it's just, what is that? We're talking about
sort of apples and oranges, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's the same, but it's also like Wolverine doesn't just go around killing people who are criminals. Like, what does that even mean, for one thing? You know, it's a whole thing, but we'll talk about it another time, or go watch my videos. Nonetheless, I mean, even Nightcrawler gets in right here. Like, he's teleports this dude out into space, and that can't be the only guy that he's responsible for killing either.
No.
So yeah, it's this is a war, and that's the thing that I think that the people that want to call this just cold-blooded murder, they need to call it that, because they don't want you to think about this being a war. Because if you think about this being a war, guess what else you might start to think about being a war?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it's you know, there's a little bit of who has a right to defend themselves sort of baked into this conversation of like, well, okay, if some assholes with a space station are killing your people, what if not this, then what's the plan, right? Like, walk me through it.
They've already fucking destroyed your
country.
nation, your country. They've fucking dropped their fucking futuristic murder bot into your fucking party, where you're just chilling with. Actually, your party is partially designed to integrate mutants into the population, and like culturally, and like say, look, we just like to have a party and dress up cool, and even some humans are invited and everything. You know what I mean? It's a good time. The first two were just generally good times. Maybe some stuff happened on the outskirts, but
well, you know, the trial of Magneto and
yeah, and you know, and then like I think Deadpool showed up trying to get in at one point, and Moira, you know, another time showed up, or nonetheless.
Right, but I you know, even then, like, you look at the nation of Krakoa, it's a mutant nation, but like they have no problem with mixed couples, as it were, right? They let humans who have mutant partners live on the island. You're not like, oh, we're going to separate families over this. No, bring your fucking family.
Yeah. You know, I always forgot that Typhoid Mary was a mutant.
Right. I did too. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Oh, right.
I remember, like, as soon as it came up again, I was like, oh, I remember on her card that I had back in the 90s that it was like, she's a mutant. Oh, really? She's a mutant? Oh, okay. Anyways, you know,
like, it's weird because she's like she was like an X-Force or New Mutants villain back in like the 90s, but then even by like the middle 90s, she was more like a Daredevil villain. So she kind of forgot she was involved in the mutants.
I'd say there's some legitimacy to that read, but I don't know that that's really the best read of the Punisher. As far as like
I
theme that you
think
can take from it?
it's an interesting look if the idea of a costumed vigilante and the person, like what it would take someone to be that from a traumatic sense and like really the embodiment of a failed system. Like, because in a system that didn't fail, right, the Punisher never happens. And yeah, it's this like the whole American desire for violent justice.
True, yeah,
sort of
because he
embodied.
was directly a product of the 70s fascination with vigilantes.
Right.
You know, but nonetheless, so like they also took issue with this whenever it happened in the last issue, because like, look, she's not killing them. She may have them believing they're dogs, but like, or maybe she's just got them on leashes without believing they're dogs. I don't know. Doesn't say. But she's having fun, you know. She's been in hiding this whole time. She had to marry Tony Stark, for God's sake.
Right.
I love she likes it a little bit more than she realized she was going to.
Yeah. It's
so,
got some benefits.
So the Chuds were mad about this too. So this isn't like, that's not, which really that kind of creates the point at hand here, which is that there's nothing. It doesn't matter if they, okay, we got our own island. It's not even an island we took from anybody. It's our own.
It's our own grown island.
We develop our own things. We're doing our own stuff over here. Look, we've even created these drugs, and the only thing that these drugs will save people. They've like changed lives. Like fucking, these are the areas of medicine that science probably won't crack for another 50 years at least.
Right.
Here you go. And the only thing we ask is, hey, let us live here and be our own thing, and just don't be invading us and shit. That wasn't enough for many people. Then you find out that they have actually developed this resurrection technology. Oh my god, that's terrible. How can they do this? Now they're immortal too. Even though they've been nearly wiped off the face of the earth a couple of times. And so it's like,
I wonder why people who had their total population reduced to less than 200 took up an interest in bringing their people back from the dead. Also with this panel, because I've definitely seen a lot of the upset about the dog leash panel there.
Mm-hmm.
So which psychic is that? Is that Jean Grey? Is that Professor X? Is that Rachel Grey? No, it's the one who's been like a villain in a live action movie.
The one who
villain in a cartoon show, right? Like,
I mean, she has shown repeatedly that she is willing to do, I guess, ethically disfavorable things in service of mutant needs,
survival. Yeah, like she is not a traditional hero. If Emma is doing bad girl things, it's because bad girls do dirty work.
I think that's the extra part of it. You're right, Liz. For this, there's like the fucking femdom aspect of it.
Right.
And you know how it is around here. This is actual femdom.
Fuck yeah.
Never mind. I'm not going to get into that. But I have somewhat more than jokingly considered something like that. But as far as like content, but anyway.
Sure. But yeah, like it's definitely if you're not willing to read the whole story, then
and their audience is definitely not willing. They're willing to watch a video to engage with this stuff almost passively, and to have their opinions and information fed to them by someone that they just fucking blindly trust is doing whatever is in their best interests. Meanwhile, I mean, look, Wolverine's enjoying this, but he's Wolverine.
Yeah. And again, like, oh yeah, Wolverine's killing bad guys. All right, this is a thing that has never once been some sort of discourse TM, because it's fucking Wolverine.
My point was about like no matter what the mutants do, it's not okay. It kind of it definitely reflects real life things,
right?
It's just look at any marginalized group that like oh yay, good for them, they did a thing, like something positive happens for, and it's like, oh well, I don't know. It's really just is best represented in the whole, everybody deserves a right to be, to arm themselves and to have guns. Well, what about, like black people? Oh well, I don't know,
Right.
or homeless people,
There was one of those one of those Twitter accounts that like Elon Musk retweets. I saw one shared around the other day that was complaining that a court ruled that migrants didn't need to register their guns. It's like, well, that's probably because the Supreme Court said no one had to. So I guess if we're going to say shall not be infringed is the only line of that amendment that matters, then shall not be infringed is the only line that matters. And so everyone can have a gun. Migrant or not.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's weird how the rules are the rules, except for whenever it involves somebody that they don't want the rules to apply for.
Rules for thee and not for me.
If it wasn't for double standards, they'd have no standards at all. And so, and of course, in number 2 here, you see Wolverine just right on the tail of Stasis, and he's almost got him, but Stasis is just gleefully running like a fucking coward. Are you not going to catch me, Wolverine? And spoiler alert, Wolverine doesn't catch him.
I do think reading this, I noticed something, especially because I went back and watched some of the episodes of the old X-Men animated series. I feel like they gave 90s X-Men's, like 90s and early 2000 X-Men's Mr. Sinister personality to Dr. Stasis.
Oh, yeah.
And like the current Dr. Stasis or the current Mr. Sinister is slightly different, right? Is a different character than that. And I'm like, that's interesting. I'm interested in that. I find that an interesting writing choice.
Well, then we get to this. This is number 3, and this is the cover. I've been this one was teasing me ever since they released the cover months ago. And yeah, I mean, look, the issue is, as often is the case, a cover almost never the thing that's literally happening in the cover happens in the comic, and I like that.
Right.
I prefer it that way. There are people I've seen complain about that. That's weird to me.
Boo nerd.
So Wolverine does not end up in this position with Stasis, but I mean, if you're saying that he represents the X-Men, yeah, I'd say so.
Sure, yeah.
Stasis makes that face for sure. And let's look at that, because basically what happens is they find him. They're he's on the run after the whole space station got brooded, and they have to find Firestar because. I mean, look at this shit right here. You want to talk about gleeful killing? These are Orcus guys shooting they're trying to kill Krakoa. They can't kill Juggernaut, as he points out to them.
Right.
But they're trying to kill Krakoa, which is at this point just a tree on the run. Literal tree, just, hey, I'm out of here. And they're trying to kill him. Juggernaut, the hero that he is, fucking
legend.
Throws himself on top of Krakoa. And look at this fucking guy's face.
Right, he is gleefully trying to kill Juggernaut.
It's like, did these guys not read the book? Maybe not. I mean, maybe they did, and they just they don't want people to think about this aspect of it, because this is more representative of the kinds of gleeful fucking hatred you see of marginalized people on the internet.
Right.
And you can easily see that translating to violence if they ever were given the okay to do so.
So often when we see online or even real life violence against marginalized groups, as soon as there's retaliation, right? It doesn't matter how bad the inciting incident was or wasn't. All that's talked about is the response to the inciting incident.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it. Yeah. It's awful, right?
My brother used to do this to me all the time when I was younger, because he knew that I was a bit of a hothead. If he pissed me off, that I would react, and he would quietly do something that really fucking he knew would upset me, and I would get mad, and I would hit him or something, when I'm talking about like small kids, and then I would get in trouble for hitting him, and it's like, yeah, I did hit him, and I shouldn't have, right? Like but at the same time, he didn't get in trouble for knowingly inciting me, right?
Right.
Exactly. Violence often begins with abusive language. Not always, but it's a red flag for sure.
So it's
look at these fucking guys.
Yeah, like they are. The people online who are saying that the X-Men doing harm to these people is wrong either did not read the book or don't want you to.
They have an agenda, an extinction agenda.
Oh,
I reference. So yeah, later on here we get sorry, go ahead.
Do you know what's a great corollary to this that I thought about because it's been in the news recently? I want to do something quick, but pause. Like, just give me 2 seconds to grab this. Perfect. All right. So the person who writes and draws the Stone Toss Nazi comic.
Oh yeah.
That Nazi, his real name was revealed.
Mm-hmm.
Or rather, I shouldn't say it was revealed. It was always available other places, but like people finally broadcasted it. Right.
Yeah.
And so I just want to make sure I can pull up his name and fucking say it. Anyways, Elon Musk, who is, Mr. Free Speech Warrior, who's let all sorts of harassment be directed at minority groups across Twitter, is deleting posts and shutting down accounts that shared the guy's name.
Which is?
I am trying to find it right now.
I'm going to go ahead and just make sure, in case we can't pronounce it, we want to have it visible. Bring it up here.
So his name is
Stephen Monticelli. Oh no, sorry, wrong one. My bad.
Is Hans Christian Grebenner.
Hans Gruber?
Yeah, right. No, Grebenner.
Hans Booby.
Yeah. So, but Elon Musk has been like, trying to like suppress that. It's like, oh, so this guy, anyone can say anyone's name, publish anything they want about a person of color or someone of the LGBT plus community.
You got motherfucking what's his name? Andy No. Anytime they're like all throughout 2020, but he's done it other times too, but it was just a whole lot during that summer.
Yeah.
So like every night in one of the cities, like in Portland, whenever there was, protests and fighting with cops and whatnot going on every night, like really protesting and then cops fighting people and them fighting back with like not nearly even the same kind of weaponry, just fucking with cops basically. Anytime somebody got arrested, they were basically releasing the names of everybody that got arrested.
Right.
Even whether or not it was clear that they were part of some Antifa or part of the protest or not. He was just releasing names. Here's who got arrested.
That's the other thing that's part of that, especially, is that, people who were arrested were also white supremacist provocateurs, opportunists doing some crimes because they had a nice distraction, people getting like pulled over because they were driving in the wrong place and just assumed to be involved.
Yeah. So I want to know your meme here.
Yep.
Like, that's it. I just couldn't believe that like Hans Christian Grebenner, and I was from Spring, Texas. Oh, that's not far from where I grew up. That's outside of Houston. Wow. Who would have thought that there are Nazis in Texas?
Right. Who knew? But yeah, so like we can bully you infinitely, but how dare you react?
Exactly. Yes, thank you. I was about to mention her because she did the same shit.
Yep.
They said it. They called it a doxing. And guess what? The other day on a fucking showcast, some of the clips were included in the prefab, but they're saying I pointed out to Tony who came on to I guess he's got some kind of like humiliation kink or something, but he came on for it.
So that was, oh god.
and he was like, what are, you know, I said, well, look, I looked into these claims of doxing, because if there is just like a doxing of, I'm not saying that this is not doxing, right? If the name's out there,
No.
neither was Kai Rychik or whatever, but like they were saying that some journalist was going into Discord servers and trying to dox the people in there. And I was like, that's kind of fucked up if that's what was going on, but I had a feeling it wasn't.
It was not, right.
She was going in there and saying, hey, what is your real name? And then like, I guess in order to make the point of like, you know, retaliation online, she was basically like, why do you use a screen name and stuff like that? And it's like, even if she had said, give me your name, that's still not doxing.
That's not doxing, right? It's
not even trying to dox, is really. I mean, like,
No.
doxing is just finding the information. If they would have given her the information, that would have been them giving away their information. They would have been doxing themselves.
Well, and that's like almost any journalist worth their salt is going to want to know the name of their source. Like, if I am interviewing you, the first thing I'm going to do is ask your name, because that's how you interview someone. This is 101 shit. That he's like, that's doxing. I'm like, no, it's not, you fucking moron.
Well, I mean, he even said it's not. He was like, you know, and I kept saying, okay, but that's the thing. Y'all are taking, this is with the example of the Sweet Baby Ink stuff all around, is taking something that happens and then using the words that do not apply to it, putting in context that do not apply to it in order to make it seem like a victim narrative of some kind. And that's all it is. We pretty roundly fucking destroyed every little scenario that he brought up as defending Sweet Baby Ink. And look, I'm not saying that we fucking murdered Tony's Mystique or anything, but like, he did a stream on Friday and a stream on Saturday, and for most of the streams he had about 10 viewers.
Really? Wow.
And he's also been hearing from people in his community, from what I understand, that he did not a great job coming on our stream.
Well, no,
and with that in mind, I welcome anybody who wants to prove things like that. Like, if you want to prove that Sweet Baby Ink is an issue, I don't want to debate. I want you to prove things. And that's why they won't do it, you know, because I'm going to fucking hold them to, I'm the Matt Dillahunty of fandom, motherfucker. You know what I mean? That's what I'm going to do.
That's some claims.
If you got some fucking, if you got some claims, if you got some things that you think are going on, prove it to me. Show me, you know, show me why I should agree with you, believe you.
They hate that. Okay, show it to me. Show it to me. Show me all of it. Don't show me a clip. Don't show me a page. Don't show me a panel. Don't play me a soundbite. I want all of it. Prove it to me.
So, okay.
Oh, they don't want to do that. Weird how they don't ever want to show you it all, right?
Well, we'll get to that more on Wednesday for sure. However, back to the X-Men, because that's
the X-Men.
This is X-FAP number 1.
Yes.
So here we see, I just want to point this out. This is not related to the conversation broadly, but like, okay, so throughout here you see Cyclops has been you know, wearing he's not able to see, and yet he's been able to lead Dr. What's her name?
Pre-corpse.
Lead her through the underneath this whatever facility in Paris that they're in.
Right.
That he's been being held in, and you can see his visor's not his regular visor. Can't see. But he knows the steps. He memorized the steps from his cell.
So fucking badass.
Cyclops so cool, man. Like he's goated. Between this and the show too. Holy shit.
Oh, we're gonna that might be the first thing we have to talk about is Cyclops.
It's gonna have to be. So, and then, you know, Magic shows up and she's like, "Hey, you know, I got your visor here," and she throws it, and like, just this gesture is funny in context of how badass he's being elsewhere. He's like, looks like he's like, oh, you know, it's like, whoa. Just like he's gonna barely catch it or something.
Also, can I say, like, 5 o'clock shadow Cyclops? That's fucking hot.
Yeah, it works.
It works. I love it. I'm just like, I feel that.
Okay, so then we get we get some Woofer, who I realize has been a through line throughout the whole Krakoan thing. I didn't remember that until I started, but he's there in the early issues of the Hickman X-Men is where you first see him.
Right.
And here he is again. Back then he didn't want to be a mutant. He was scared. He didn't like it. He wanted, you know what I mean? And here he is. He's like, let's fucking fight some Orcus. But first of all, excellent. This shit right here. Love it.
Oh, yeah.
Just, you know, damn. Second of all, you get, okay, so this is where it starts. So you have Emma and Kate going by Shadowcat now because she had to do some unfortunate things. Which remember, after she killed all those dudes, very expertly, she fucking cried her eyes out. She like fell on her knees, fucking like devastated that she had to do
She
that.
did not feel good about it, but sometimes that's the business.
So Tony Stark has figured out that that they've got Firestar. Firestar having been a mole in Orcus.
I love how that gets like the reveal on that, like because that she's a mole really comes out of nowhere. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
No, they planted it in the House of X book. I mean the Gala book.
Yeah, in the Gala book, that's the first it shows up. But then, like, why it was that?
Yeah, because she wasn't a mole. That's the thing.
That's the thing. She never was.
Jean Grey implanted it into Dr. Stace's mind as she was dying.
Yep.
That Firestar had been a mole for the Morcus the whole time.
For Orcus, though, right? And I'm just like, holy shit.
And Firestar being a mutant who has not had a big history with the X-Men, and they kind of don't trust her. The mutants don't generally trust her very much and stuff because she's always done things outside of mutant needs and whatnot. And so she's trying to ingratiate herself, and I think she's earned her fucking place.
Oh yeah.
Because so Tony's like, hey, look, I know they got Firestar. You got to go find him. They find Stasis, who's on the run once again. He's got Firestar.
Switch pages.
Sure.
Can I appreciate that Emma and Tony like talk while they're both at work? Like that's good for a couple.
It is good. I mean, they also are kind of like doing the same job in a way, but
yeah, hey, look, killing fascists is hard work, but it's good work.
And we're gonna see a giant mech fight in the next Iron Man.
We saw. We saw it in this. I think it just came out.
Did it?
I think so.
I didn't. Oh, I must not.
I gotta read it, but okay. I think it's out.
All right, so here we get. They find him. Here's Stasis. He's in this freaking, middle of nowhere. It says, very clever. So they find him, and he's like, "Oh, well, talking some shit." Still, he's still a little too cocky. So maybe this is what they're referring to with pleasure. That they're going like they're literally saying with pleasure. That maybe that's why the Chuds are mad. I don't know. No, like we said, it doesn't matter what happened. Right. They're going to frame it disingenuously. It's figure of speech, guys. You better pray that Firestar is alive or you'll beg for death. And she, puts her hand through his head here, knocks his helmet off. And he's like, you're not going to get the information out of me because I've got a side blocker in my head. And
this
she's
side
like,
blocker?
This one that I just grabbed out of your brain?
I love her like shit eating grin in that panel.
Yeah. And that's good shit. And
it's just like, that is moments before disaster.
This is a great moment here of just like, okay, so now he's realizing I'm actually fucked now.
Yeah,
okay. Right. And she's got Firestar's location, which she then sends to Sync, who is badass, goddamn badass. Sync's awesome.
He's awesome.
Close enough to sync with her powers. And look, he hits these dudes with some flames, but then tells them to jump in the water. Like they do jump into the like. He doesn't make sure to kill them. I guess if they aren't good swimmers or I don't know.
I mean, if you set me on fire and threw me in the water, I'm probably dead. But like that's why was I being a Nazi? I don't know.
So Firestar's okay. She's safe, right? Good for her. Good deal. And then now it's time to deal with this guy. And this is where I think maybe some people are getting really upset. I don't know, but why would you? Like Stasis is barely even a dude, right? Like he's barely a guy, barely a human. He's a clone of a clone.
Well, it's like you want to know why the X-Men are doing what they're doing right now. Read this panel.
Yeah.
I tried to be good for so long, but you men broke me. You wouldn't let me be nice.
Right.
I destroyed men worth 10 of you, 100 of you. You hurt us. You hurt me. I could kill you where you grovel, but I won't. And then worse happens.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Instead, I will reach into your disgusting mind and pull forth your nightmares, your most unhinged fears about mutants, born of your voluminous, bigoted mind. And I promise you, it will feel very real. So she actually doesn't kill him. Now, I mean, if you want to get ultimately technical, she literally just makes him. So she makes him see his own worst fears of being killed by mutants repeatedly for a full minute, just a minute, 60 seconds. He sees these visions happen, and it only took a minute for Dr. Stace's heart to begin to arrest. So he had a heart attack.
Right.
Experiencing this. But he experienced it for in real time, a minute. In his own mind, it was about 10 years. And
it's so fucked up, but like you get it, right? Like,
yeah. And I just love this shit, right? Like, call me sicko, you know, but my bad.
Getting a little ahead of yourself.
You know, he deserved it. He did. And again, this didn't actually happen.
Right.
It happened in his mind. Sure.
He played. I mean, but those were his fears, right? She didn't make anything new. She said, we'll just put these on fast forward for you and show you your own nightmares that you dreamt up in your own head that led you to this.
Yeah, I isolated them here because I forgot that I could do the panel by panel view in there, so I went ahead and isolated them for us. So we could see that, you know, Wolverine gets his slicing in. He gets decapitated by Cyclops. He gets his head just popped like a zit by Colossus. Kate Pride, she just like
Temple of Doom's him.
A peaceful look on her face, just like shows, you know, pulls his heart out here. And then what do you expect is going to happen wearing a metal helmet, dude?
Yeah, why are you wearing a metal helmet around Magneto? Like, if you're having that nightmare, I guess, maybe, because he didn't make the metal helmet, right? Like, he's having the nightmare of getting his head tin canned like that. And so hopefully he made like a ceramic one.
Yep. You would think, but I guess he was wearing it. I mean, to be fair to Stasis, I guess, for the same reason Magneto wears his.
Right.
So, I don't know. Yeah. Well, as we learned in the show, though, that maybe it's not as simple as we assumed.
No. It's some belligerent sexual tension.
All right. So then that's it. That's Stasis. He's gone. He's dead. Well,
yep.
At this point, he dies here.
Yeah, because then
he literally has a heart attack and dies.
Yeah.
I guess maybe he wasn't dead. We don't know that he died right there, but we know
he was
that
having a heart attack, and then
we know that he died here.
Right.
When Firestar shows up. You know, so he's definitely gone there. Definitely dead. And then like right here where it's just like barely an ash, you know, like a crumbly arm, definitely dead. And then I wanted to call attention to this too. So you could almost make a case for that Emma Frost was gleefully killing or whatever, even though as we showed, she didn't technically kill him. And even if you say that, yeah, okay, she did, she made it happen, she set the sequence of events, she knew what would happen, kind of thing. Okay, fair enough.
Sure.
Gleefully, no, we already saw what she said, as Morgan pointed out. Like, she doesn't want to be doing this at all. Like, she didn't put herself in this position. She's being forced into this position. And then she takes a sip from her flask, which I think is very intentionally added.
Right, like she is in a bad way.
It's like she's always going to keep her steely demeanor, right? Like, you know, she's not going to break. But she need, you know, Mama needs a little sip, needs a nip right now, because that was rough.
She's having a rough couple of weeks. Her hubby's busy working, you know, had some really shitty days at work, and this fucking guy has killed almost everyone she's known and cared about.
The killing that happens is for the most part, it's practical. You know, when we're talking about the guy who is most he's kind of the tip of the spear in a lot of ways of this attempt at genocide that got pretty damn close. You know, yeah. And then as they tell him, she told him there, she's like, look, if you're anything like the Sinister clone, you're going to want to come back, but don't, you know, like, just don't just stay dead, man. It's not going to. And then I realized this though earlier, if he does come back, he's going to be fucking insane.
Oh yeah.
Because he experienced his own death for 10 years like, in his mind. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, or it'll be the one from Rise of the Powers of 10, where he gets killed after he realizes he can't become the Dominion and then gets popped by it.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about your luck. But
Like
but all the clones were being played, you know.
Right.
So then that brings to mind, okay, fine, but like, doesn't this kind of like spoil the X-Men as being heroes anyway? Like, I mean, if they're just at war and they're having to fight for their lives and stuff, and they're having to kill people, okay, but like, it still just makes me feel icky, and I don't like it. You know, it's not the classic X-Men that were heroic and they never killed people and stuff. Like, wait a second, what'd you say there? They never did what? Because I happened to have gone through and found some examples that I guess these guys who pretend like they talk like they just want X-Men to be the way it used to be. They don't include things like Colossus fucking breaking Riptide's neck.
Nope.
They don't include let's see. Cyclops. Now it was a clone, but Cyclops didn't know that.
Right.
As far as Cyclops is concerned here, he fucking murdered Mr. Sinister.
Right.
So there's one. Find the others here. Then there's Archangel decapitating Cameron Hodge.
Mm-hmm.
He's a whole weird ass cyborg every appearance after this because of this, right?
Yep.
He's got the weird sneaky neck thing, cyborg situation after this point. Then there's Storm, which I think we might maybe see this pretty soon. Who knows? Killing Callisto.
Yep. Well, I thought the cartoon did like a version of the story where it was a little less.
I think they did. I mean, it shows in the thing, the beginning, where like they're fighting with like lightsabers, basically.
Right. Yeah. There's some version of it they adapted.
There's other examples. More recently, since the decimation, there was let's see. As a matter of fact, aside from the decimation, so Wakanda, there's a queen of Wakanda. Her name is Storm, and during the Skrull invasion of Earth, her and her husband, they fucking
murdered.
They defended Wakanda from the Skrulls,
right?
And
they put fucking heads on pikes. I had not seen this. Holy shit!
They didn't like, and I'm talking like the Skrulls that surrendered still got their heads put on spikes. They were not.
Oh fuck!
Yeah, you don't fuck with Wakanda, dude. Like,
that's true.
But granted, she wasn't under the title of X-Man at that point, but still, she did some killing. I just don't think there's any argument to be had that's in good faith and informed by the history of the comics to say that the X-Men don't kill. Here's at the time, of course, she didn't know that Marrow had a second heart. As far as she was concerned, she had just ripped Marrow's heart out,
right,
and killed her. And I think that maybe the writers didn't think of that either. It was just like, oh, Marrow's kind of a cool character. Let's say she had another heart, and brought her back.
Classic comics. The trying to think about it, I think the only like Marvel character who I can think of who is like explicitly does not kill ever is Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Yeah.
And like, because like the Fantastic Four have fucked up and killed a bunch of aliens before. Like, I'm pretty sure. I'd have to go back and read. I was never the biggest Fantastic Four fan. But like,
I think generally they're about where Spider-Man is. I mean,
like they're the next closest.
Yeah.
But like after that, it's like Iron Man kills, Captain America kills, Thor fucking kills people.
Let's see. So here's Donald Pierce. This was during the this is a Second Coming. Whenever Bastion had brought back like all of the old white
all the old white guys,
brought him back to life. Here's Donald Pierce as he was played by what's his name in Logan. Excellent performance and stuff. And here he is just basically saying, I want all you fucking people to die, and Cyclops just gives him one of those.
What if bro?
It's not. It's just not. There's no case to be made. The X-Men are the killingest Marvel team, superhero team that you can still call superheroes that there are.
Yeah.
Past what the X-Men do, you get X-Force, yes, and that's a whole other thing because starting with Messiah Complex in 2007, Cyclops activated X-Force, and this is a very specific X-Force. They operated the entire time underneath his Wolverine and a few others, but like most of the X-Men didn't know about it. Storm didn't know, Colossus didn't know, Nightcrawler didn't know, because Cyclops knew it was bad look. Some of these old school characters weren't super cool with it, with killing.
Right, and it's not a universal thing, right? Like not every X-Men is down to clown that way.
But it got revealed during Second Coming, because at that point you now have a situation where all of the worst evil bigots are trying to kill Cable and Hope, and Cyclops activates X-Force, and some of the members of X-Force are now mixed in with the X-Men, and they're all trying to find him. And so Nightcrawler sees that, and he's like, what? Yeah.
Excuse me?
And Wolverine's just like, don't worry about it, man. It's fine. Just ignore it. Like,
my girl's going through some things.
No, hold on. There's something happening here. What's up? And then, of course, it's revealed to the other X-Men at this point that the X-Force has been a thing. There you go. It's just silly. Like, I have much more information that we could go into if we had more time about it. I looked. I found some shit. Nate Gray killed the Marauders.
Yes, he did.
Let's see. Cyclops resolved to kill Sabretooth in a 90s one-shot. They didn't have any problems with Longshot killing Mojo.
Nope.
Cyclops, well, this doesn't really count because the Mercy killing, but Cyclops Mercy killed Ugly John. It's they abandoned Gambit in Antarctica after they found out that he was complicit in the Mutant Massacre, the original Mutant Massacre, which for all intents and purposes is killing him, theoretically.
It's not a good place to be. I think what it is, to sort of boil it down, the reason they're upset now and weren't upset then is because back then it was okay for heroes to kill fascists. And now these people don't want their fascists, their heroes killing fascists, because that's a little close to home.
You want to know what I did find? But I'll sum up all the information I found with this. The person that established that changed the X-Men from being, we're just straight up superheroes, we don't kill, which they were at one point.
Right.
There was a no-kill, vibe rule even. But over time that changed. And that changed, gradually, but character by character. In fact, Wolverine is a lot of people just assume that he was killing all those, like in the infamous Hellfire Club thing where he goes through and all those goons. You just assume he's killing all those guys, but like Claremont had actually said no, he wasn't killing everybody that you see. He's just, he might maim some people, but he's not necessarily killing them all. But Claremont is the guy who, over a period of 11 years, this character decides Colossus, who would have never killed someone, now has been driven to the point by bigotry, by this hatred, by these villains that are trying to eradicate them all, by his sister being infected with a virus that was created to kill mutants.
The fucking legacy virus plot is just fucking horrific. It's a good story, but it's horrific.
Yeah, he eventually kills some guys, and now he's in Fall of the House of X. He's just like, kill these fucking fascists,
right?
But like, the thing is that the comics, as Claremont was writing them, he was making them reflect the real world more and more. Making it, he probably was learning a bit more about bigotry as time went on. Claremont was.
Right.
He was probably realizing that, like, there are people who, like, legitimately maybe the only thing to do to survive is to like them for just to maybe not be here anymore.
Right. Because they're not gonna, if they're not gonna stop trying to off you, what can you do?
Yeah, so rather than having a no-kill rule, there's just a few members of the X-Men who have who are morally opposed to killing generally.
Right.
Those would be originally Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm, even Cyclops, Marvel Girl, but they're not Batman levels of I will never kill anybody.
Right.
I just won't ever do it. So,
and then even Batman will sometimes, if not kill people, let them die.
Yeah. So there you go. If you want to blame somebody for the X-Men killing people, blame Claremont. But you're not going to do that, are you?
Right. Well, because he's an old white guy, they can't blame him.
You got to appeal to the guy of the past in order to disparage these writers now that are generally pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, speaking of writers of today, should we talk about 1997?
Yeah. Well, so there's not really a whole lot of killing going on in X-Men 97 so far.
No.
Doesn't mean there won't be, because there has been some. Morph died. Wait, but Morph came back.
They're back.
I don't remember how they came back.
Mr. Sinister.
So is this a clone?
I don't know. I forget what the exact plot line was. I know Mr. Sinister had something to do with it, but I haven't watched that show for God's fucking 15 years. Like when it first got added to Netflix, I went back and watched it. And I don't remember how he comes back.
I'm excited to announce that last night I watched with the family. We watched Sanctuary Part 1 and 2 from the original series. And then we moved on to because I'd seen the first episode. I had not seen the second until last night. And man, holy shit. Like, I legit, the last 5 minutes of that second episode, I had chills. I was like, this is just good. This stuff's good. And I did one thing. I wanted to put a button on the other part. The thing that the guys that are making that content, in case you haven't caught the message yet that I'm putting down, we're putting down here. Magneto laid out for you what those guys are.
Bigot.
His whole fucking. Do we want to just skip to we got to go through it all though? Like we can't just skip.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Shot
First, when the fuck did somebody decide to let Cyclops do that with his blast? Has he ever done that in the comics? I don't think so.
Not that I'm aware of, but holy fuck, that's cool.
So the episode starts and it's like, okay, the animation's looking really good. I'm into it. Oh, look at Sunspot. I like Sunspot. And then Cyclops shows up. Well, first of all, Storm comes in. Excellent entrance, right? Fucking big epic Bishop. Entrance. Bishop doing good Bishop shit. And then Cyclops comes in and is like, I just love the confidence with he's like, yeah, I'm the good guy.
I'm the good guy.
Cocky Cyclops is best Cyclops.
I love him in this. And so for those who haven't watched it yet, also if you should watch it. Come on, get out there and watch it. But also, so for those who haven't seen it and want to hear us spoil it, I guess, Cyclops, because his blasts aren't lasers, right? They're kinetic energy. They're kinetic energy blasts.
Force.
Right.
It would be more like getting hit with. I read somewhere once it was like if several tons were thrown at you at about 500 miles an hour.
Right. So he uses his eye beams to push himself around to move in weird ways and dodge in different ways. And it's so fucking cool.
Yeah, there's dudes over here and they're trying to shoot you, and you just laid out one dude that's in arm's reach, but you got to get that dude over there.
Right.
Well, you need to get over there fast, right? So, and it makes perfect sense. Just let out a little blast at the floor, but of course he's probably really good at pool when you think about it, because you got to know exactly where to hit to get where you want to go. But
yeah, I think one of those times when they've discussed secondary powers in the X-Men, he has a heightened spatial awareness power as part of his power set that lets him figure out where to shoot his shot, as it were, to make things go the way he wants to.
Cyclops is a strategic genius.
Right.
I wish I remember what issue it was. Maybe I'll look for that in a minute or something. But there's this one issue where I think it was maybe Emma. They were in the Savage Land, actually. And they were on vacation, I think, from what I recall. And Emma is describing to, was it Shanna, I think? What people don't realize about Cyclops, and just the description of his strategic brain is holy shit, anyway.
Yeah, he's fucking sharp, and this show fucking shows it. And the last few years, this is the cherry on top of me liking Scott Summers, because I have never liked Scott Summers until the last 5 years. I was like, oh, fuck Scott Summers, hate that guy. And now I'm like, fuck, this guy's awesome.
Yeah. So I got just a video here. We can check it out real quick.
All right, hit it.
Wait, where's my what the hell? Oh. Okay. So yeah.
Screwface. Yeah. Scott Summers on the Avengers would be crazy.
Right there.
Yep. Excuse me, sir. That's so cool. And just the fucking like head nod gives him the fucking grin.
That's good shit.
I fucking love it.
And if you look on YouTube, by the way, he's getting his respect too. Like, yeah, it's so cool to see. Like, legit getting his respect finally.
Yeah, well, he had to earn it. We needed good writers to do it, but by God, we've gotten there, and it is wonderful.
Then there's also this moment. Wait. Oh, wait. This one.
Mm-hmm. This is crazy. This is fucking crazy. Fucking DBZ lands with his fucking powers. Woo!
Followed up by.
Yep.
Oh, you guys can't hear that. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sitting here with chills because of the music and stuff. He's like, and then he does it to me, my X-Men. Holy shit.
Yeah. So I think because we've seen, so after this is the scene from the teasers where they fight the Sentinels.
Mm-hmm.
But the next scene after that, I'm gonna fire it to you in our Discord. But I think we got to play this scene and get the volume on that because this scene is fucking amazing. This is my favorite scene, maybe in the first 2 episodes.
I'd say probably agree generally. Yeah. Whoops. Gotta share the audio real quick. Here we go. And kill that one. And bring that up.
Woo!
And yeah, because it's like, if I was literally watching in real time, like, oh, come on. Like, the X-Men ain't going to just take care of these old busted Sentinels. And then more Sentinels. And
just more. It's like, oh, fuck.
That might be too many Sentinels. Like,
yeah, that is now a lot of Sentinels.
Surrender. Give them the forecast. Omega level threat detected.
I gotta fucking clip that drop. Omega level threat detected.
Yeah, I just love the give them the forecast. Yeah. And the piano music starts up like it's a fucking video game boss.
I mean, look, let's be real. That like it's good that she gets this, and then I think a couple of more big epic moments because of what happens at the end of episode 2.
Right. After giving her this scene, I was like, oh, something bad's gonna happen to her soon.
Ancient sands, heed my command and reclaim these.
Not just any sands, the ancient ones.
Right?
Like it's because they hate fun. They hate things.
Fun. This is so fucking cool.
For things that that just like aren't directly just only for them. It's like they can't understand it because they have no empathy. They have no fucking.
Well, they have no sense of joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alex of hatred.
She one-punched him.
Yeah,
she fucking one-punched all those Sentinels.
All of them.
Oh,
I fucking love this scene.
they're all just standing there like, oh, okay, well, all right. I mean, that's cool and all. Wolverine, he's like, I was really looking forward to tearing into some more.
I really wanted to chop, but is there more of these to chop up? Because like
This shit right here, holy shit.
it's so cool.
God damn. Yeah, this show is next level. It's undeniable if you even care, if you even like the X-Men a little bit. And even if you don't, like, my 8-year-old here, who's just so far has been all about, Pokemon and then whatever this Pikmin thing is.
Sure.
And then, stuff like that. But it's like, no. And by the way that he got into X-Men was he saw my shirt. The one that the na 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 na. And he was reading it and he was just like, no, 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 no. I was like, no. He goes, no, 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 no. Here, I'll show you. And then I showed him the freaking the opening intro. And now he's like singing it at the beginning of every episode. And it's pretty awesome.
That's so sweet.
Yep. I mean, look, it's just some things are just objectively good, apparently. I didn't think it was possible, but
like I guess I'm sure you could find a reason to not like this, and I will be happy to entertain that, but this is fucking beautiful.
I guess I could say I can make an argument that I don't like it because it's making me realize that the MCU will never be able to top this. That'd be, I guess, a mark against it.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's the problem of maybe we should allow the medium of animation to receive the props it deserves, because no amount of CG that we have had in the last 30 years will capture the beauty this single panel does.
It's true. I mean, they could copy this, but we've already seen it.
Right.
So.
Like, what do you do?
I think that people's talking like the MCU's dead and stuff. Like, yeah, I don't know about that. I think that we're about to see the I don't know, renaissance.
Well, I think it's going to have to evolve or maybe mutate.
I think so. And I mean, I honestly have no doubt that is taking place as we speak. I like the things are being tweaked, the things are being done. Although I saw something the other day that raised a good point. Like, where the fuck has Kevin Feige been? Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess he's never been one to respond to shit, so that's not
right.
really his thing. But like, it was kind of notable that I don't know. I felt like they should have sent him out or something during all of the bad press that he was getting. Whatever.
I guess they might just have that guy chained up in an office somewhere to like just keep making shit. Like he's just chained to his desk.
MCU is dead. Pool. Oh man, that'd be cool. If they put out like an ad that said that, I would worship them even more than I already do.
I would be like, oh god, the salt. I love it.
The MCU is dead. Cool. I'm definitely going to title a video of that if the movie's actually good.
When the movie comes out, yeah.
I might just, hey, who knows? I might be just saying the MCU is dead because of this movie. It's bad. Yeah, it's I think they were probably going to see some of that. I think that they would be silly not to do some of that. They know because here's the thing. They have all these cartoons on Disney Plus. That's the reason they fucking brought this show back in the first place, is because they saw the numbers of people watching this cartoons on Disney Plus, right? Like pretty much as soon as they put it on there, you see the numbers, the views on this stuff going crazy from a cartoon from the early 90s,
right?
And they're like, we would be stupid not to do this again, to not like jump off of this, right? And
right.
They did it.
Well, here's what, I know there's some lead time on this, right? But I think when they started making this show, I think they knew they had something special. Because this show was announced a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But now we've seen the branding for the Rise from the Ashes stuff, and it's all the 90s branding again.
Yeah,
and I think that's because they know this show is fucking something special.
It slaps. And yeah, it could have been, this show easily could have just been nostalgia bait.
Yeah.
And it's not even that at all, really. Like, other than like the fact that they're wearing the costumes and it literally picks up the story, but like other than that, there's nothing that's like overt, just nostalgia bait about it. I don't feel like.
I think it does a really good job of it, because the first episode takes the time to introduce all of the characters, takes the time to sort of give you an idea of their powers. It is in the same way that like the original pilot for the original X-Men animated series, like the team has already formed. It's not an origin story really, except for Jubilee. It sort of drops you right into the story and right into the action with a point of view character, and this mirrors that. And you can really dive in the same way.
Yep. Look, okay, Screwface Capone. There's not many things I'll ban somebody for, man, but come on.
You're working on it, buddy.
You're getting right on the. I'm just kidding. Like, that mecha armor from that. Oh my god, that show. What a misfire. They tried.
An attempt was made.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember, like, specifically remember though, always being let down by pretty much all the other shows except for Spider-Man, but even that one sometimes, in comparison to X-Men. You know, it's like, yeah, this is cool. I'm glad that this exists. You know, but like, man, I think about X-Men still.
Yeah, the only one I really remember is the X-Men one. I know, like, I think I've caught some of the Spider-Man one back in the day, but I don't really remember much about it.
Oh wow! I mean, you know, the Spider-Man was generally pretty solid. It did a lot of the same stuff that the X-Men did, which is like stories from the comics that are like, you know,
truncated.
Yeah, truncated pretty directly, you know, from that. And yeah, the Hulk show was pretty good. The Silver Surfer show was pretty good.
There was a Silver Surfer show?
That a lot of people don't remember that. I actually have from project that I never did finish doing. I have some clips from it.
Damn.
We can check it out.
Yeah, we can do that sometime.
Yeah, not right now because we're talking about X-Men.
We're talking about
X-Men. You know what?
Yeah.
We'll end the show with some Silver Surfer.
There we go.
Anyway, so this is cool. Cyclops is cool. It's all cool. I don't know what else to say. It's cool.
It is cool. But now we can talk about episode 2.
Yeah, not so cool. Some stuff happened in that. It's where the story definitely starts to kind of become its own thing now.
Right. Not now the story. I mean, the intro changes, right? So the first episode like does a remake of the original intro, and while the theme song is the same, it's a different intro.
Well, yeah, I mean the first episode, the intro, it is a remade intro. Just even the first episode, it's redone with new animation, but they did a lot to kind of maintain the
vibe.
Similarities. They added Morph in there.
Morph and Bishop to it, yeah.
They added a couple of clips with Morph and Bishop, you know, fighting or whatever. They added Mr. Sinister.
Yep.
They added a moment of Sinister of him just laughing, and you know, closes up on his red eyes and with the red diamond and stuff.
It's the creepy fucker.
Yeah. I hope he's a little bit wacky like he's been in the comics recently, but
yeah, like that's the thing. When I went back and watched, I think it was the episodes with the Phalanx from the 90s show, and I'm just like, wow, Mr. Sinister was
pretty one note
present in this show. He definitely voted here.
He was very one note, right? Like they were just like, okay, so Sinister, that's his entire personality then? Sinister, okay.
Okay, all right. Sure.
But Hickman was like, but what if he was having fun with it?
Yeah.
You know, like
well, then what if he was having fun because that was part of his evil scheme?
Yeah. They took out Thunderbird and the pink-headed guy from the intro.
Huh.
Pink-headed guy. I don't know
who that is. Yeah.
Anyway, oh, you're talking about from the lineup of the Clash lineup. Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess if they didn't see them as being going to be part of the show going forward, makes sense.
So yeah,
I mean, you know, at the same time, you could be like, oh, so more Native American erasure. Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, once again, the X-Men screwing Thunderbird.
You know,
boy, that happened.
His brother had a better attitude anyway. Let's get his brother in there. He's much more team player.
Yeah.
Which really was Thunderbird's problem. Let's be honest. Like he just was, I'm gonna do it myself, and he's dead.
And he's dead now.
Yeah. Episode 2 was pretty great. We got
the fucking opening.
Magneto shows up. You know, we knew that was going to happen from the trailer. So kind of anticipated that this was going to be, and then plus the costume, you've seen that and stuff.
Yeah.
So like that's a very specific time in X-Men history. So you kind of got an idea if you know about those things where the show might be going, and it is.
It's going there.
Oddly, it's going past from the 90s. More the late 80s is when those storylines are taking place.
Right.
Where Professor X is gone, Magneto goes on trial. He's wearing that literal same thing he's wearing in the
like it's so hokey. That costume is
subtle,
so incredibly hokey. But the character is so good, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just like, nah, I'm here for this, man. Give me this shit.
And let's see, he he lets him know what's up. And yeah, from there they go. They have the trial. He's like, all right, cool. It's a pretty cool moment whenever he doesn't destroy the helicopters.
I love that we're like, okay, Magneto, you can't fuck with us. Our guns are immune to your powers. He's like, God, you people are so dumb.
Yeah, it's always like, come on, man. Are you really? Is that you didn't think you went through the effort of making not metal guns, but you didn't think that the vehicles we show up in are going to be metal.
Right. It's just like, an attempt was made.
Let's pour a drink for our poor boy Gambit. What do you mean?
Oh, we'll get there.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. So, Lucifer, I know they went to bed, so I should have asked, what was there something about him being bisexual? I missed?
I think just like his vibe when he's fucking cooking breakfast in the first episode has like some bisexual energy to it.
Okay, fair enough.
I've seen other people refer to this as his like bisexual look.
Yeah.
Or like, I didn't know that Gambit was bisexual just because of like how he's dressed.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, the cropped top.
The crop top, yeah. Like,
so I mean, in the context of the 90s, there were dudes who actually just wore shirts like that, and they were straight apparently in the 90s. But yeah, in him wearing that shirt now, it's like, making a statement, Gambit.
Right. I'm here for it, but it's a little surprising.
Yeah, it's then they go through the trial thing, and that's of course interrupted by Executioner, which he had a pretty good fight with Cyclops.
Yeah. Also,
turns out
they gave my guy Morph. They gave that dude some. They tweaked his powers a little bit because he's copying powers, or they're copying powers.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know what? I felt like an idiot because, like, in the previous episode, I was like, man, what can Morph do against Sentinels? And then suddenly he's there, and then he's like all the characters that he needs to be in the moment when he's kicking asses.
Right. The plane blows up, and they're flying out as Archangel, and then like Wolverine needs to get up to Master Mold's head, and so they turn into the Blob.
That was true too. Yeah, and I said I keep using the wrong pronouns. My bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, Morph. Don't cancel me. I don't know.
Morph's a comrade. Morph wouldn't do that to you.
Yeah. Morph is so far justifying being on the team, because at first I was like, really, Morph? That's interesting.
And even when they're fighting Executioner, like they turn into Colossus and Lady Deathstrike and Psylocke. It's like, oh fuck, they're going for it. This is cool.
Like, it's pretty smart from a writing perspective as well as animation perspective to have Morph when you think about it, because because of what we saw them do in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, so you can literally have any power on display that you need it. From a writer and animation perspective, that's a boon. Anyway, so then by the way, Executioner turned out to be a 3 scarred faced guy. From the Friends of Humanity.
That makes sense.
And there is an underlying question of like, because Cyclops had asked them, where are you getting this stuff?
Right.
And then now he's the Executioner, and he's got this new weapon that like can. It's like there's some backing happening there. Seems like, and I'm guessing it's not Sinister that's doing that.
No,
but maybe,
probably not.
Maybe.
I'm thinking it's someone within the government, right? It'll be another government guy,
right?
Or like maybe they'll retool one of those villains to be like a businessman or something.
So then of course you know, they're fighting off Executioner and these the protesters, the Friends of Humanity, the MAGA guy. I mean, Friends of Humanity.
The
Sorry,
Friends of Donald. Wait, shit.
That are you know, they're just protesting, guys. That's all they're doing is they just exercising their
Peaceful protesters with guns.
Insurrection. I mean, did they even say the word insurrection? I think they did. Like
I
on
don't
the news.
remember.
Maybe I missed it. Maybe
I do love that Magneto when the judges are like, but we're human. I mean, it's like, boy, you thought laws applied.
They did, because I've seen like Friday Night Tights in their stream the other night. They had one of the things was like X-Men 97, January 6th or whatever. So like they spotted
they're
it.
on that connection. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think they did in the news thing afterward. It says insurrection, and so like of course Chuds are gonna, you know, probably rightfully make that connection.
Wait, is X-Men saying that fascists are bad again?
What's going woke?
Must be X-Men.
Woke. Nice, very nice. Wonder if the Friends of Humanity are going to become the U-Men.
I don't know, maybe.
I don't see any evidence of that necessarily, but maybe. Yeah. So, speaking of Executioner and all that, I want to share. If we can get a little chuddy for just a moment.
Sure.
Because there is a video that I just happened upon. I shared it with you.
I know I'm playing.
Oh, you're doing performance. Got it.
Got it. The show must go on.
My bad. I'm not supposed to call attention to it, am I? Shit.
No, you're not.
All right. Let me find where that thing's at. Okay, so there is this channel who, I mean, I got a couple of videos here. Both are very short. We don't even have to watch much of any of them at all, or either of them at all. But one of them has on the thumbnail Executioner's face. And it's called X-Men Villains Are Very Relatable.
How you know you're the bad guy.
Are very relatable. You people complain too much, which is a line that I think Executioner says there.
Yep.
And look, you know, I actually give this guy some points for just like he's being a little bit more honest than a lot of these guys tend to be.
He comes out and say it.
You know, like they're instead of saying, "Oh, the X-Men are woke," he's actually saying, they're woke, but they're woke because they're against the guy who says the things that I agree with." Right. And then he kind of just rambles about that for 8 minutes or whatever. But this guy, this character, I kind of love him. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of love this whole thing. His aesthetic, his voice. It's fucking. I mean, I'm talking about. It's atrocious. Like it's. I'm being completely ironic about my love for this, but like, yeah. Sorry.
His little gremlin guy.
Yeah, he's like, at least he's like, look, I'm a troll, man. I'm a little gremlin troll, fucking subhuman, you know, fucking little shithead, and I'm gonna represent myself that way. And he must be, I guess, Romanian, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe some of this symbology here is who knows what it means. Not me. All right, let's check him out.
Hurt my friends? Well, now you answer to me.
Humanity answers to no one. Know what I hate about your kind? You act like you got it so bad. Normal people have it hard too. Harder. We just have the dignity not to whine about it.
You know, nothing lasts forever, and eventually culture will change, and hopefully the West will manage to make something entertaining again. But when we're going to be in the future, maybe like 10 or 20 years from now, and we're going to look back to some entertainment that came out lately and no one knows that it even came out because no one watched it.
No one knows that X-Men 97 came out because no one is watching it.
Okay, if that's true, why are all these fuckos talking about it?
Everybody is watching this shit. Like I can't wait to see the fucking numbers. I can't wait to see like I could just, it has that feeling of it that like literally everywhere I look, people are talking about it. It just seems like you know, hell a lot of no one cares.
Right. That's yeah. What?
Yeah. So I mean, this guy, I don't know. I just kind of love his whole stick and everything. I mean, if chuds have to exist, I can't help but say that some of them are more entertaining than others in a way.
He's committed to the bit at least.
And I will say that I'll just go ahead and give a spoiler. If in the future I do a chud character, I'm gonna just completely rip this guy off. I'm just
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. This next guy though, no,
nothing.
Because this is like the lowest form of chuddery. It is lazy. It is fucking terrible. He is lying, and it is bad. So, just above that one here in my list of watched vidges, I hate the X-Men.
Good.
X-Men 97 rant. Make it stop. And I hate to give this guy much play because it's like a pretty damn new channel, and I just doubt that he's going to get much. This is just a certain type of take that he's getting some views for it. But I don't think he's going to sustain it.
Well, yeah, if he's a new channel and he's getting 2,000 views, it's because people are like searching for X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because people are
Tyra Magnus is going to be included in the video that it is. I promise it is so close to done. I've just been tinkering with it and not having a whole lot of time to focus on it because my girlfriend had some emergency oral surgery, and so I've like been picking up slack around the house and taking care of her and stuff. This week though, it's just about done, and Tyrone has his own little arc in the video, as a matter of fact.
Well, he gets a whole character arc.
Well, I mean, he did a whole thing. He did a whole surprise me thing. Okay, I'll still spell it because it's not like it's a big part of the video, but he's included in early on in the video. He's included in the videos of, he's watching the trailer reaction, and it generally is a pretty good, normal reaction to the trailer. He's like, oh, this looks good. And then at the very end, he goes, I just hope they don't make it woke. Then he made another video whenever all of the discourse about Morph and stuff,
right?
And he's like, oh, and then this thumbnail and stuff, it says they woked it up. Okay?
Good,
right? But then when he watched the show, he now has a video where he's like, this is awesome, and he's like, look, I'm not an expert in wokeology, but I don't see any of it in this show. This show is great. So
maybe because woke is made up and it's just to like get you upsetty spaghetti.
Yeah, well, that's what kind of the point I'm going to make is like because as I've said, the show is going to look at many different takes, not just like I loved it and I hate it and I'm excited or not. It's going to look at the spectrum, and that's going to be one of the points is that like Tyrone Magnus does seem to be kind of in this weird spot for Chud that I'm. It's not a lot of people, I don't think, but like he does seem to want things to be good, which is weird because some of the buddies I've seen him streaming with and praising and stuff, they're not like that. Anyway, so yeah, hate and fear the X-Men. This is just like,
the actual X-Men.
Wait,
I hate the X-Men. I cannot stress enough that 90s X-Men and the years that preceded it is the high watermark for the story of the X-Men. New and old X-Men readers have been screaming this for decades, screaming into the proverbial void. Ever since Grant Morrison came in and was allowed to absolutely obliterate the story of the X-Men, so much so that the comic book series has never.
Okay, so even if you're like I used to be, like an idiot, and think that the Morrison changes that era is bad, like I was an idiot. It didn't change things irreparably. Like things went to more like, I mean, immediately after you had Astonishing X-Men, which is generally a lot like that early 90s team.
Yeah, it's very much like a throwback team and a throwback set of stories with some of like the sci-fi elements and stuff. The cosmic elements, rather.
Yeah. By the way, your audio is fucking ass, dude. Like,
yeah, you're like, my audio is not great, but like, good God, man.
Bad audio.
God.
Bad take. Bad understanding of things as he goes on. You'll see that.
And like, okay, so imagine trying to pin it all on Grant Morrison, right? Because let's say the last 24 years of X-Men comics have been ass, right? how is that exclusively Grant Morrison's fault? Like, why are you just like, it all started with Grant Morrison, they ruined X-Men? Well,
yeah. Aside from the fact that he does,
maybe you just don't like X-Men. Maybe the reason you haven't liked 24 years, a quarter century of comics, is because you don't like those comics. Maybe because as you've given into your own bigotry and you see yourself in the villains of X-Men, it's uncomfortable to watch a story call you the villain, probably because you're a villain.
Yeah,
your beliefs are cartoonishly evil to the point where literal cartoons treat your beliefs as villainous.
Screwface, like, not if anything, just he did. Like, if you got to remember what was going on right before that. I think you had, what was it? Chuck Austin, was that right? Was that when his run was?
Oh, I forget when the Chuck Austin one. If it was right before or right after.
It's not good. Like, whatever the state the X-Men was in the late 90s, right before, it was like, yeah, you saw a X-Renaissance, which is obviously just, if you look at the timeline, it's clear that every once in a while you're gonna need a big shakeup,
right?
Because it's comics generally kind of have to adhere to a status quo more or less, and so that means you got to find a way to shift it and still maintain what it's about, and that sometimes doesn't come around as often as should.
Yeah, you are correct, Bob.
Yes, and if I've used the wrong ones, I'm sorry. I know this guy does.
This guy does. So yeah, they brought Morrison in because Morrison is a weirdo. And so that's the kind of person you bring in to like shake things up and give you a fresh start. And that's what they did. The leather jacket costumes were great.
Yeah, because they basically Claremont was still on it during Morrison's run, because Claremont was doing Extreme X-Men at that time. And then basically whenever they signed Joss Whedon and what's his name? Not doing such great art anymore, guy. They signed them, they just canceled it, pretty much everything, I think.
Right.
Other than that, so yeah, it's easy to forget that they had so many different kind of disparate writers and takes going on with the X-Men at that time. Like, they don't do that anymore. They generally kind of keep it
right. And like there's definitely been runs the last 25 years that I'm like, well, I think this
wasn't good. I've literally never read any Extreme X-Men.
I haven't read it. The like a lot of the stuff leading up to Avengers versus X-Men, I was just like, oh, this fucking sucks.
Very depressing. Is like
that? Yeah, that whole like decimation went on like 5 years too long.
See, that's what I was telling my girlfriend about it, about how, like, I mean, she knows a bit about it anyway. She's working at a comic shop, but I was like, the difference in like the status quo change of what decimation did. Like, in the immediate aftermath, there was a lot of cool stuff.
There's a lot of interesting stuff, and then
mine from it
just dragged down too long.
And it matters. The status quo needs to shift, needs to be thought out in a way that allows it to continue to grow. And even if that means that you include an element like Krakoa or Krakoan flowers that literally involve growing new possibilities for storytelling, because that's what Hickman did, and that's pretty brilliant.
Well, and I think with the whole decimation era, I think the problem is that, like, this is a story of mutant extinction, right? So, like, because you're trying to, like, the premise of this story is it's about the end of the X-Men. There was a thing that was like, I forget what it was called, but it was a limited series where, like, they flash forward 10 years to, like, someone's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a bunch of the characters talking about how, like, yep, we just keep dying. We just keep dying. We used to fight and we used to believe in things, but now we just keep dying. And it's like, yeah, that's this whole era of X-Men. Why do we need a book that just talks about how much we fucking die all the time?
Well, it's like, I mean,
it's every X-Men book in that period.
And what it is so there was an article, I think I sent it to you a while back, that somebody, and I'm pretty sure it was like a black guy that had written it, that was like, we shouldn't, and they was talking about what's going on right now with the fall of House of X and stuff, and he was relating that to the decimation era as if they're the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Saying basically like, we shouldn't keep putting these allegories for marginalized people in this situation where they're just like, we're all going to die, we're fighting, it's like, well, but that's not what it was for 5 glorious years previous to this, for one thing.
Krakoa was the opposite of that, right? It was, we're going to flourish, gods damn it.
The X-Men became, you know, nearly as heroic in the world's minds to a lot of people as like the Avengers or whatever. That's a lot of what
the 2021
Judgment Day
was
about, was like kind of putting them all on the same kind of playing field, and you know, it's I don't know, I just felt like that was a really reductive take on what was going on.
In a lot of ways, Krakoa is the opposite, right? It is this celebration of the X-Men, and the celebration of them thriving as individuals. Of like, the only thing that unites them is that they're all mutants, right? But they all come from disparate backgrounds and identities, but they all have this thing that unites them, and seeing them work together and flourish and build off of commonality. Because, you know, if you're talking about the allegory for X-Men, and one of the things I loved with the Krakoan era is, you know, how it's like, oh, well, how can people like Apocalypse and Exodus work with, you know, Charles and Cyclops? It's like, well, because they're all like, we have one thing we have in common, and we are all going to use that to build something better. Because when you push all of the little shit aside and you go, we have something in common, we can do great things together, and you focus on that, you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It was a way of saying, like, yeah, the only reason that they're you know, you want to talk about, like, Chuds love to bring up Chicago murder rates, right?
Yep.
And like how, oh, what about the black on black crime, right? Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a problem, man. It's a problem for sure. But like, let's talk about the real symptom. I mean, the real cause of the symptom, right?
The Reagan administration.
Yeah, I mean, and just you know, inequality, inequity in general, and like in the conditions, yeah, that have been laid out for decades, century, more, and like the fact that these root problems have not been addressed, and you know, leads to eventually people that have nothing but, you know, really reason to they theoretically should be working together, but they're in a situation where they're fighting each other.
Well, that's why they don't want to talk about the murder rates in rural areas, the murder rates in the South, because it turns out the cause of most crime is poverty. That's the problem. The problem isn't whether they're black or white or rednecks or rural people or urban people. It's fucking poverty.
I don't even know who that is, man.
I have no idea who that is, and I don't care.
The fact that you show up, I never heard of you, and you're just here to do that, it's like, I'm not falling for no bait. Look,
I'm glad your boy made a reaction video.
Tony Beers, I'm glad you made a reaction video, Tony Beers. I hope it works out for you, Tony Beers. Bye. So anyway.
Yeah. All right, moving on. So, episode 2.
Wow, man, that fucking speech, Magneto at the end. I don't know if Bo DeMaio is responsible for writing that or what, but like,
oh, that speech was fucking good.
Yeah, it was very good. That speech is the reason why guys like this guy make these videos, because they don't want people to experience the thoughts that are being expressed there very, very fucking eloquently and dramatically. Because, you know, let's hear it, Magneto. What are they?
Bigot.
That whole speech and where he takes them, right? Because you're like, oh fuck, Magneto is dragging these people up into the sky. And you're like, holy fuck. And he's like, yeah, you know what I would do before? I would fucking throw you to the earth. Instead, I want you to see the world how Charles saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And the world of like the big picture. It's like, oh, this is so good.
It's definitely a take of like, I don't know, because I don't know. Well, I'm sure we'll get into it as we X-FAP into the future episodes. I mean, and future won't be like the bulk of an episode won't be about the X-Men or anything. We'll talk about it again. Maybe we'll wait a couple episodes at a time. Maybe we'll do like, because like I was saying earlier, I think I didn't finish. Starting next week, history of conservatism in the U.S.
Yep.
Which, you know, there might be some crossover elements from that and the X-Men. Who knows? As far as like, yeah.
Given how often X-Men tell allegorical stories, I feel like we'll find something.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody that's hasn't figured it out yet, we're at the start on the cusp of a fucking X-Men renaissance. You know, I mean, I think a lot of us that read Krakoan era X-Men feel like that happened already, but I understand that it was maybe a little bit outside or inside baseball for some people. As far as like pop culture resurgence, I think we're about to see that happening. We are seeing that happening already.
I think what it is that, you know, I know you and others have talked about how like the comics are as far as Marvel goes, the laboratory of the television and movie productions.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you feel that in X-Men because there's so many, maybe not like whole ideas, but just sort of like beats and concepts that have made their way from Krakoa into X-Men 37 or X-Men 97.
1937.
1937. No, X-Men 97. Like just like how the focus on them combining their powers was such a big deal in Krakoa. And like early on, they put a focus on it. And then it just sort of fades into the background as something they do. And then it gets highlighted again in X-Men Red, where the Araco mutants are struggling and the Earth mutants the Krakoans are combining their powers and then showing the Araco people like, oh yeah, when you work together, you can go fucking bananas.
Right.
And you're seeing that just as part of how X-Men are now. And it's some of the most hype, like when people saw that trailer, the first couple of trailers, and you're seeing these power combinations, that's the stuff that got people hyped.
And then you see how it plays out in the show, and it was fucking excellent. They fucking
beautiful
decapped Master Mold with that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good stuff. Fighting Master Mold was a big fucking deal, and here it's like, nah, he's the fucking pilot villain. We're gonna job him right the fuck away.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And I hadn't really even started to think about that in that way, but yeah, it's the possibilities are flooding my brain right now because there's even though Krakoan era X-Men is as being, you know, mutants having their own nation island and stuff is ending. It's got a couple months left, I think.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. The elements that were introduced, like and not just like mutant power combining, but I think just the idea of there's like all the characters we talked about, the villains, quote unquote villains that have been rehabilitated in some ways.
Right.
I'm actually kind of curious, are they going to be introducing new villains in the comics? Because it kind of need to almost.
You kind of need, yeah, like I don't want to see like the generic X-Men baddies, your Black Tom Cassidys, your the Blobs.
Yeah. Oh god, it would be a fucking character assassination to take Black Tom back to what he was.
Yeah.
You know, and
that would be awful. Same thing with Juggernaut. Like we got.
Well, I mean, and that thankfully we know that's not happening, right?
We know that's not happening. I'm so like that he's on the main X-Men team. I'm just like, oh, thank you so much.
And that's the thing that gives me hope. I think that might be the only thing for that's released so far that gives me the hope that, because there's one thing they could do that would make me reject this new iteration of X-Men in the comics.
Yeah.
And that would be as if none of them remember any of this. Because what's happening, and if spoiler alert for Rise of the Powers of 10, they're trying to wipe out the timeline.
Right.
The X-Men are, because Professor X is, because like basically the Dominion God thing that is Nathaniel Essex has already ascended. It's a God. It's an omnipotent, omniscient. They have to kill it before it happens, and so they're trying to make, I won't get into details, kind of yikesy, but they're trying to get rid of the Moira's life that led to that. And in order to do that, they have to get rid of Krakoa, because that was instrumental in the whole thing happening.
The Dominion needed that to happen.
Yep. So if it just goes based on what they're telling us they're trying to do right now, then yeah, it would just wipe the timeline out, and then none of them would remember it. And that would, but there's got to be some way that they figure out. I'm certain. I'm having faith that there's a way that they're going to be able to maintain memories and characterization and stuff, right?
I think because I mean, it's not an X-Men story without a twist, right? Like And I think because we sort of knew everything that was going to happen in a way, like we knew Krakoa was going to end. We knew Orcus was working towards that the whole time. We knew the AI were working Orcus from the inside. We knew the Dominion was going to be a fucking problem. But I think that with all of the like the teaser art and the cover art of like, oh, we're going to kill that first Moira. We're going to kill that first Moira. They're not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing, is that like right now, as of now, Professor X intends to, last we saw him, he is going into that timeline to, as most of the characters think, talk to her.
Right.
I think right after her powers manifest or something. Right before, I'm not sure.
Right after or right before.
I
think it has to be before.
Yeah. And then you're right, it does. Otherwise, yeah. But what as he knows, and as
Doug knows.
Doug knows, yeah, and I think Rasputin doesn't figure it out.
Rasputin hasn't figured it out.
Rachel doesn't figure it out.
Rachel hasn't figured it out.
As by the way, apparently her name is just Ascani now.
Yeah.
Which is better than, what was it before? Like
Prestige.
Yeah. Ugh.
I'll take Ascani. She's been Ascani before. I like Ascani more.
I like that one. It at least has something to do with her. You know,
right.
Like,
yeah. Well,
anyway.
Also, she'll always remember.
Yeah.
Because there's only ever one of her. That's
True.
part of her like, power set, is that she's the only, like, in all of the multiverse, there's only one her.
True. Yeah. Okay. I was about to say, is Bishop the same way? Because he's the one that remembered the Age of Apocalypse. Or he was the one that carried over from the original. Anyway, that's, you know what?
I believe he isn't, like, I don't think he's the only bishop, but that bishop remembers time changes.
Yeah, he does. He also, probably unfortunately for him, remembers all the millions of people he murdered in the future.
Yeah, because well, and he remembers it in fucking Children of the Atom when it's like Cable's like, yeah, so, and Bishop's like, well, we got a lot of people to kill, and Cable's like, you're really good at that.
Yeah, you're excellent when you decide you're going to kill some people. You know, except for a baby, of course.
Right. You're gonna
can't kill a baby, but you can kill entire populations of people with a fucking nuke and you know, viral contagion. Anyway, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that's.
I don't think
so.
Well.
I mean,
yeah, Ascani. Yeah, Rachel Gray is Mother Ascani, who raises Cable.
Right. We might see. I can see that this would be possible. That Apocalypse could go back to being a quote unquote villain, as in like he'd be the antagonist for sure. Because
right, I could see him as an antagonist.
He's probably going to be pretty pissed. Like when you think about it, like he was so proud of the. You know what I mean? He's like, you guys did it. You guys, I've been trying to make you, you know, realize that you stand above humanity and you know, do what you, and he's going to be like, you guys fucked it up. I went away for like a little while to go visit my estranged family, and like this is what happens.
Right. You know? I think that, I guess what I would like to see, and I'm certainly not going to expect them to do this or get mad if they don't, is that like, I wonder if the mutants who stay on Earth stay there to help other mutants who are stuck, right? Like that, if you're talking about like sort of a reboot, like you can have a lot of the mutants just go to Araco, right? You can remove them from the dangers of Earth and be like, well, they can't fucking touch us here.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck are these morons gonna do? And the ones who stay have a reason to stay. They want to stay.
Yeah.
Whether it's to protect mutants who are stuck on Earth, or because just they don't want to leave home behind, even though home is a scary, dangerous place. Like we have this built-in place that can be that mutant homeland separate from Krakoa, or maybe Krakoa merges with it because they used to be one being. That you see that come back together and they have a place they can call home, but also you have an Earth where you can tell those sort of more traditional X-Men stories.
That would be the way of having your cake and eating it too. Yeah,
and it gives you a way to do, because some of the zaniest X-Men stories and some of my favorite are the space shit, right? Like, and it's shit that whenever they try to adapt it into a fucking movie, fails miserably. And I think this gives you a new way to do that. If you want to do that in live action, you don't need to worry about terrestrial X-Men dealing with space shit. You have fucking space X-Men, not space X the company. Because the space X-Men would be run by Dollar Store Justin Hammer.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, I mean, Phylong, he's about to be getting a taste of some Metal Fist. He's gonna get Metal Fisted pretty soon. So.
Yeah, Tony's got a Mysterium present for him.
I think I'm pretty sure that Omega Red did not make it out of the first issue of the Sabretooth War, right?
Of Sabretooth War. No, I think he is dead.
Yeah, he died.
Alpha Flight is still around. Well, yes, they are, because basically in the most recent Alpha Flight mini, there's secretly 2 Alpha Flights. There's the official one, which is working for the Canadian government to round up mutants, but that one is secretly helping the other Alpha Flight to smuggle those mutants out of Canada.
Yeah, I mean, an Alpha Flight was
that one yet, but
and even before that, Alpha Flight was a completely different thing for a little while.
Yeah,
Alpha Flight was kind of what the Ultimates in the 616. I don't know. They've done a couple different things with it, and they thankfully, I think probably for the best, they went back to more Canadian government Alpha Flight being a thing.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, yeah. And the Shadow King? The Shadow King is a villain right now in Resurrection of Magneto. You just got
Oh God, is he?
He was just I don't know if I could say he was beaten. He really wasn't.
He was overcome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what it was.
Because the Shadow King, as far as like with the reveals in this the more recent comics, is that the Shadow King isn't so much as that dude as a force of primeval evil in the human heart. You can't kill him, you can't get rid of him, but you can confront him and you can overcome him.
I mean, so we're not going to just keep at just answering every question that pops in your mind, Julia. I would recommend reading comics.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know anything about that, so yeah, I got nothing for you, hun.
Yeah, and by the way, you want to talk about Magneto having moments, big moment.
Oh, Resurrection of Magneto has been so good.
I mean, look, as I said in the Discord, he shows up here and says, "Men call me Magneto," and I was thinking, and women call me Daddy. Because dude is you're pushing 100 with this fucking figure,
right? This bod, and I mean, it's probably a fresh bod, right?
Yeah, I think it is.
But do you know what this is?
Huh?
Dane.
Huh?
He resurrected.
Yeah.
What? He came back from the dead.
Right.
We have mutant resurrection.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because he had a key.
He had a key. But the idea that the mutant resurrection is done, no, life finds a way, motherfucker.
Well, I mean, mutant resurrection is 5 mutants, and I think a couple of them can be interchanged with other people. So it might be harder.
It's going to be harder, right?
I'm willing to bet there's going to be some story arc or storyline that's going to be about going and collecting them from various places, maybe, or something, and putting them together so they can do the thing. I don't know. Yeah. Once again, Julia, we've been over this. You don't have to shut up. You just we
don't know everything.
We don't know everything, and can't take the time to answer just your questions in chat either.
Yeah.
As much as I'd love to spend just a whole day answering X-Men questions.
Right. Yeah, we can talk X-Men. You may have noticed.
So yeah, Storm dies, by the way. And then of course Magneto brings her back because they have a really good chemistry, and then their powers work together incredibly well.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Galactus's mom.
Is that who that is?
That's Galactus's mom. Yeah.
So I recognize Blue Marvel.
Mm-hmm. Because in the most recent Defenders, the first arc of Defenders, it was Loki. I'm sorry, was it Loki? No, it was forget who all it was. But, I mean, anyway, but the second arc had also by Al Ewing had Blue Marvel as kind of the de facto leader.
Sure.
And then by at the end of it, yeah, she came back to the 616 with him, and she's kind of, just as far as that we know, that's the last time we'd seen her, and maybe him. And then yeah, so they're just, I guess, hanging out. She decided to hang out and be here with Blue Marvel. Who knows?
She's
what their
got like
relationship
some
is.
punk rock meets New Gods vibe going on, and I'm here for it.
I'm sorry, but I have to show you some stuff with her. I'll find it in a second. But like the way she talks in the comic, it's just so fucking fun. Yeah, she's awesome. Anyway, but you go on. What were we talking about?
Magneto. Well, I think we have fapped about Magneto and fapped about Magneto.
Well, yeah, and if you haven't, then you should, get a screenshot of that picture that was just up, and then you can fap about Magneto.
Ooh, yeah, you can fap about Magneto all night long. So, unfortunately, the reason Magneto goes full tilt is because Executioner, like, he's shown, the first time he's shown is putting this fucking, like, hobo Fallout gun together. But it uses the radiation from the mutant power nullifier collars. And he tries to shoot Magneto with it, but Storm takes the bullet. And she loses her powers.
Yeah. Yeah. Rough stuff.
And yeah. So she decides she's gonna leave for a while. Try and figure herself out because her powers are gone and they don't know that they can get them back.
Look, she's probably she's already started with the punk arc with the hair. She's just got to decide that leather's a good look. And then maybe go and hang out with some Morlocks and who knows?
Who knows?
Learn a knife fight maybe. Or lightsaber fight, I guess. Because I think you're right. I think they already kind of did that. So who knows where they're going with it? But
yeah, we'll see where they're going with it. I trust them to handle it well. Like, they've shown themselves capable so far. But then I think because, like, so the first episode ends on the twist of, like, they're all beat up because Charles is dead, and they're, Scott's trying to hold the team together, and everyone kind of wants to go their own way, and they stop Master Mold, and they're like, okay, we're a team again, and then fucking Magneto shows up and says, ha, Chuck left me in charge. You idiots, you absolute rubes. And the second episode ends on another twist, which is so Jean is pregnant in the first two episodes, and in the middle of 1697 as opposed to 1621, she has her water breaks, and Wolverine has to, like, crazy taxi her to the fucking hospital.
Which, by the way, starts with the funniest moment in both episodes.
Oh, it's so funny.
She's like, he's here. Who?
Apocalypse? No, the baby. And then yeets the keys at him. And like, Wolverine has never looked more scared in this show ever.
No.
This is the most terrifying thing to him.
Well, and you got to think it's scary because, like, obviously, he's concerned and it's, oh my God, it's a baby. What do I do? But also, deeper down, it's like this is this thing that's going to make sure that I'm just never with my love. It's coming. It's happening. And I'm curious how they're going to go. They haven't really leaned too far into it. They've got leaned more into the whole him not liking following orders aspect of that triangle, but it's still there. And I'm
like, it's still there and definitely still referenced, and like Morph kind of calls him out for it. They're like, yeah, so boy, you're really hard for Jean Grey, aren't you? Even when she's all preggers. It's like, ooh. Morph,
I see what you were doing. I see what you were doing, comedian. I thought you were like, she's so big, but no, you're just doing the joke thing.
Yeah.
She's so big, she sits around the house. She really sits around the house.
Right. Yeah. I get you. So, but they're back home. Scott and Magneto are getting along now. They're all like, boy, we hope, Storm's going to come back. We miss her already. And then Morph's like, I'm sure she's going to knock on the door. And there's a knock on the door. And so they run over to the door. And who is at the door but Jean Grey?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
No, it seems like that maybe, way back when, Jean came back from the whole Phoenix thing. that they actually are sticking to what happened in the comics, except they hopefully will avoid the nonsense of the comics where it's like, she looks just like her, but she's not her. It's just a coincidence she looks like her. But I'm going to marry her and I love her. And she's, you know what I mean? Like there was some playing around with that in the comics of like that. I don't know. It just seemed weird that he would just so happen to get with this woman that looks exactly like her, but isn't her. And then like, turns out, oh, she's a clone. What? Who could have seen this?
Who could have seen this clone? Like, okay. So like, if my spouse ascended to space as a cosmic being and 2 weeks later I meet like an identical clone who like just got out of an airplane crash, I'd be like, I am sorry, we got to go like run the DNA test because I think you're a fucking clone. I will pay for it, but now we got to do this. So you know what I wonder? This would be interesting. Okay, so hear me out. So I think like there's two things I think they could be doing. One, we could be getting a better version of the Madeline Pryor story. Because also not only is like the whole premise of it a little fucking hokey, but like there is not a story in comics that makes Scott Summers look like a bigger asshole than that whole story.
Yeah.
Because it like he's the bad guy in that story, but no one told the writer that.
Right. Well, I mean, that's why like this is already better because in the comics, he went off with some woman who looks like his wife and had a family. Whereas like in this, he just thinks that he's been doing that.
Right.
Or he thinks he's been having a family with his wife when turns out, oh, maybe not.
And then, he like doesn't immediately turn, and then he turns immediately deadbeat dad as soon as the Fantastic Four give him a ring. Yeah. So I'm curious to see where they're going with it and how that's going to play out. Because there's a lot of ways they could do it. Like it might not even be, because obviously it looks like we're doing a version of that story, but it could be like a different universe gene. It could be like a multiverse gene. That would be one way to go about it.
Mm-hmm. True. I mean, I've seen, so, and this is a kind of unrelated, but I've seen speculation that like the Wolverine in Deadpool and Wolverine is maybe this Wolverine.
This Wolverine, yeah.
And that there could be like a literal crossover with this animated universe is like and I don't know. I don't know if they're going to go that far. Maybe.
I don't know. I kind of hope they don't.
Yeah, me too. I feel like that would be kind of like unnecessary when you could say that there's, I mean, we obviously you know, we've seen the Professor X and spoiler alert for Marvel's Hank McCoy that are very much in line with the cartoon versions of what, you know, these, but that doesn't mean they need to be the same exact universe.
Right. Because that's a different, that's not the that's not even like the main MCU universe Hank McCoy. That's, she falls into a parallel universe and is like, oh, wow, Mom, you're alive. Wait, who? I've never had a child. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And they break her poor fucking brain.
I mean, I kind of wouldn't love that, at least based on that. I mean, I guess it's possible it could be written in such a way that like it's like, oh, that's great, but so far,
I like.
Excuse me.
Unless this show ends with like all of the mutants moving to Mars to explain where they've been this whole time, I don't really like that. No, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, but nonetheless, we do know one thing. One of these genes, these genes that we see,
it's a fake.
Thank you, Senator.
That probably echoed, so sorry about that. I keep mute the thing. Let me try it again.
It's a fake.
No echo here.
Cool. Yeah, there won't be. Yeah, you know, these fucking people, these people that don't like X-Men. How do you know, there's got to be a contrarian for everything, right?
Well, you know, I think one of the things that, like, when you deal with people in your life, I had this actually happen to me yesterday running Pathfinder at the convention I was at. It was a ton of fun. But we had someone come up and we were talking about games when he came up and he was trying Pathfinder. And I was talking about how my favorite system is the Final Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars system. And he's like, oh, I hate that game. And I'm like, that's cool. And, you know, suddenly this guy's attitude, because he was sort of apprehensive. He hasn't played Pathfinder before. He doesn't know anyone. But as soon as I'm like, I get it. That's cool. Like, we can like different things and you are still, I'm still cool with you. This guy lit up and had a blast.
Nice.
You don't get that online because you really like you don't have that personal connection to a nameless, faceless blob on the internet.
Yeah, if somebody can go, oh, I don't like it, and then just like leave, and
right.
like they don't have to follow it up. They don't have to like be like care that you're going to challenge them on something or
right. Like they, so that really was an important moment to me as far as like what we do on this show, that like that human connection matters. And I think, that's why the people we talk about on this show, why they want to isolate everyone from people that aren't like them, is because they don't want people to have that human empathy and that human interaction with people they don't like, because they want to dehumanize them. And I think even in this show, right? Like the prosecutor lady, I can't think of the character's name. Like she is all in on like, now we're gonna fucking kill big, like we're gonna put you on trial for your crimes and we're gonna give you your day in court. But like
when they get in there, she's like,
fuck this guy in particular.
I think that's supposed to be Val Cooper.
Val Cooper, yeah. The character's name just slipped my mind. I am incredibly tired and I am very alive on caffeine.
Well, I mean, like it's important to remember that like the original X Factor, she was the kind of liaison with the government because X Factor was a government team of X-Men.
Right.
And she was the kind of liaison there in charge of them. So it's like, yeah, she's like pro mutant as long as they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I very much got that kind of vibe. But like, it's interesting that Magneto gives his big speech, and the show doesn't bother with like a verdict scene. You know what the verdict is once Magneto gives his speech, that they're just like, yeah, we can't fucking kill this guy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty good. It was very well written. Like, I mean, honestly, the fact that, of course, he was never going to kill all those people, dropping them, but it's still, I felt like he might while I was watching it.
And I think
that's good writing. That's everything is executed perfectly in that scene.
Especially like because like you see like he very easily could have killed everyone in that room once they took the collar off, right? And he went out of his way to be fucking gentle, even with the fucking terrorists.
I thought he might actually kill the executioner, but he still didn't even do that. So
yeah, and if he would have killed just that guy, no one would have complained. But I don't think he did.
No, I don't think that's true. I think that if he had killed the executioner, that would have been the only excuse that some people needed
to kill. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But I'm hungry. So
I am tired. So I think we have fapped X-Men.
Yep. This has been X-FAP number 1. And there will be a number 2.
Yep.
Probably, in a few. You know what? We'll probably do it in the midst of the conservative series, which next week, if you want to know how we got these crazy fucking people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump for that matter, and everybody that's like supportive of him and like, hey, let's this whole democracy thing, fuck all that. As imperfect as it is, it's still a democracy so far. And there's a bunch of people that are just like, yeah, I'm fine without it. I'm cool with this, with Trump being the guy, and whatever happens after that, who cares, right? Yeah, if you want to know how that all happened, we're gonna be fapping it. We're gonna start with essentially probably the party switch. So by the way, that's kind of a confusing thing. Like I know that all of you watching probably understand there was a party switch, and the Democrats, they were the party of the KKK. That's true, Chud, on the internet.
Right, that's true, but
the context matters. Of that there was not that their mentality was exactly the same as Republicans of today. Those Democrats. So it just goes.
The question is, who is the KKK voting for today?
Right. Yeah. And yeah, Abraham Lincoln, he was a Republican. Wow, it's almost like things change.
And anyway. Who in Congress would vote for Abraham Lincoln's policies today?
Right.
So my hope with this is that we have something you can show someone who is a conservative who's like, what the fuck is going on in my life with this shit? Like, how is this so fucking crazy?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of like average conservative, just like your rank and file people who just vote conservative because they've always voted Republican, right? Like they just they see what's happening, they don't understand it, but they don't want to vote Democrat because that's the wrong team, but they don't like what's happening.
Yeah, and yeah, we'll get into it, but like, I did want to respond to a couple of comments that I saved here. So first of all, yep, that is true. Bob of the Old Ways, and I talked about that in depth in my 3 videos total. Really, one of them is just a truncated
compilation, yeah,
of the first 2. But like, yeah, Punisher Police Problem, from 2020.
It's a great video if you haven't seen it.
And then please, I mean, thank you, man. Like, I really, really appreciate it. But at the same time, like, don't ever worry about that. Like, that's not, I mean, I don't make enough to like, if I was letting Patreon sustain my livelihood, then I would be in big trouble. So don't worry about that. I appreciate that. By the way, you can support me on Patreon, which I welcome, whether you're paying or not. Patreon.com/actualfandom.
And I welcome it too, because you should reward Dane for his hard work.
And because Morgan's always like, you got to pay me, Dane, pay me.
Yeah, where the fuck's my money, Dane?
And I'm like, I'm trying. I keep asking, and they,
like, I show up in a wife beater and like with a flip flop, and I just start beating Dane. Like, it's bad.
Boom.
Yep.
Boom. All right. So, anyways,
this is Morgan reporting live from the UN headquarters.
Is there a better way to end a stream about the X-Men than the great quotes of the Silver Surfer?
There we go.
We'll see you, next week.
See you next
come
Sunday.
with your notepads and your learning hats on, and then have a good week. Take care of yourselves and one another, and peace.
What of this planet, Master?
That planet is not for such as we.
Once, on a planet of wisdom known as Zenla, there lived a man of nobility and courage. Now, a new being lives in his stead. Behold, the Silver Surfer.
There's nothing left to lose. There's nothing left to prove. Surrender your love. It's all you can.
May Bill Gaines shine his heavenly light upon you and impregnate you with many happy days and joy fetuses. May your anuses be cleansed by the purifying light that exudes from Bill Gaines' eternal dragon phallus. Should you meet your mortal demise this day, go with comfort that you have satisfied the commands of the one true Bill, those being this: read comic books. Fuck the dumb shit. Be yourself. Love each other. Also, read more comics and grow your hair out all goddamn while. Amen.
Actual fandom is not going to stop.